Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. I am Fearless Floyd. Today is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. We are here. And of course, we have the Senate confirmation hearings for nominee Pete Hegseth for the Department of Defense going on currently live. So I'm sure some of you over there have been paying attention to that. I've been listening to it in the background, but is what it is. I want to let you guys know that the STEM Active, they've changed their label. Thank God, because the other label was like a mirror finish, so it didn't pick up well in photographs and everything. So this new one with kind of a matte black finish, I just got these a couple days ago. It's my next round. STEM Active. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. STEM Active capsules, premium STEM Active. Premium stem cell activator. STEM Active is a premium stem cell activator that enhances the body's natural ability to increase circulating stem cells. Formulated with powerful proprietary ingredients known for their stem cell mobilization properties, it supports the body's renewal and repair process. The features and benefits of STEM Active capsules are: it boosts stem cell production, clinically proven to increase the number of circulating stem cells by up to 60%. Enhances muscle recovery, aids in tissue repair, recovery, and maintenance. Improves cognitive focus, includes L-theanine to help regulate mood and improve focus. Promotes healthy aging and youthful skin. Ingredients like goji extract and black rice extract reduce oxidative stress and protect against DNA damage. Convenient usage. Available in both capsules and gel packets for easy daily consumption. So these are the capsules. This is the gel that I've already consumed. And on the gels, the enhanced absorption. The gel's advanced liquid delivery system ensures quick and efficient absorption of nutrients, maximizing its effectiveness. So if you'd like to pick up either one of these, fearlessfloyd.healthyhome.com. So check that out. STEM Active. It is a product that I am currently using. And they recommend when you first start it, double down on the dosage, recommended dosage. So do 2 in the morning, 2 in the PM for the first 30 days, and then start the regular dosage cycle. All right. Lieutenant Miarecki will be with me at 1 p.m. So I have another 56 minutes to fill of information. Let me see what I got over here. I had to get some things out of the way this morning, and I didn't really have time to prep for the first hour. But I do have, let me see what I got over here for you guys. There we go. And later. Boom, boom, boom. Well, I know what I can go find. And let me find it. Sorry about that. Well, I saw it earlier. Let me do a search inside. Oh, I can't even do a search internally. That bites. Sorry about that. But it's supposed to be in here in Newsweek, where the newly inaugurated president of Venezuela, Maduro, his claim to invade Puerto Rico, that actually made Newsweek. Here we go. Let me pull this up for you guys. Puerto Rico asked Trump for help after Venezuela's Maduro threatens invasion, published January 14, 2025 at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Puerto Rico's governor has called on President-elect Donald Trump to respond after Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro called for an invasion of the island territory. Does the governor of Puerto Rico not know that the president of the United States of America is Joe Biden and not Donald Trump? Why are you asking somebody that doesn't have any authority and power yet when you should be asking the sitting president? Good question, huh? Maduro's comments were, and I quote, an open threat to the United States and our national security, close quote. Jennifer Gonzalez Colon wrote in a post on X Monday or Twitter, quote, I sent a letter to President at Real Donald Trump, trusting his administration will swiftly respond and make clear to the Maduro narco regime that the U.S. will protect American lives and sovereignty and won't bow down to petty murderous thugs, close quote. Newsweek has contacted the Trump transition team, the Puerto Rico governor's office, and the Venezuelan embassy in Washington for comment via email outside office hours. Why it matters. On Friday, the U.S. announced a $25 million reward for information leading to Maduro's arrest or conviction. The next day, Maduro called for Puerto Rico to be liberated from the U.S. while speaking at the International Anti-Fascist Festival in Caracas, Venezuela. Quote, the freedom of Puerto Rico is pending and we will achieve it with Brazilian troops, close quote, he said. Trump has a history with Puerto Rico. During his first term, he had a problematic relationship with Puerto Rican officials, resisted sending aid after the island was devastated by hurricanes, and tossed paper towels into a crowd during a visit after Hurricane Maria in 2017. Last October, a comedian called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage during a Trump rally, sparking outrage. What to know? Maduro's liberation comments came a day after he was sworn in for a third 6-year term on Friday following an international outcry and protests in Venezuela. The United States and other governments have rejected Maduro's claims of victory in last year's election, pointing to credible evidence validated by election observers that his opponent, Edmund Gonzalez, had won by more than 2-to-1 margin. In her letter, Gonzalez urged the incoming President or Trump administration to swiftly respond to ensure Maduro is aware that the U.S. will not give into any threats. Here's a copy of the letter that she wrote. A few days after holding an illegitimate swearing-in ceremony, the socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro publicly proposed an invasion of Puerto Rico, she wrote. This is an open threat to the United States, our national security, and stability in the region. I trust your incoming administration will swiftly respond and make it clear to the Maduro regime that under your leadership, the United States will protect American lives and sovereignty and will not bow down to threats of petty, murderous dictators. Gonzalez's letter noted that despite Maduro and others' call for independence, Puerto Ricans have repeatedly rejected that option. Instead, we have voted to strengthen our union with the United States through statehood, she said, pointing to a non-binding referendum held in November where a majority of voters opted for Puerto Rico to become a U.S. state. The vote was the first referendum held in Puerto Rico that did not provide an option for maintaining the island's current status as a U.S. territory. Puerto Rico's political status can only change with approval from Congress. Gonzalez also highlighted the strategic importance of Puerto Rico to the U.S. national security interest. The island is home to Fort Buchanan, the only U.S. Army installation in the Caribbean, and National Guard facilities like Camp Santiago, Fort Allen, and Moniz Air National Guard Base, all of which strategically support exercises and operations conducted by the U.S. military and our partners, she wrote. Similarly, Puerto Rico hosts critical U.S. Coast Guard and U.S. Customs and Border Protection assets and units that help secure our borders and combat the drug trafficking networks that fund the Maduro narco regime. In fact, the United States shares a maritime boundary with Venezuela in Puerto Rico. She said that Maduro's call for an invasion are a clear attempt to get rid of the United States presence and grow influence in the area. She added, as governor of Puerto Rico, I'm ready to work with you and your administration to counter this and other threats posed by Maduro's illegitimate dictatorship and support the people of Venezuela in their fight for freedom. I also look forward to engaging in meaningful discussions on how to best enhance Puerto Rico's national security role and take a strong stance against the growing presence of our adversaries in the region. What people are saying, Republican Representative Carlo Jimenez wrote on X, Twitter, that Maduro must face dire consequences for his actions. He added, the people of Puerto Rico are proud American citizens, and we will never tolerate these pathetic aggressions from a murderous thug. Christina Posner-Kraus, a professor of legal history at Columbia Law School, recently told Newsweek, and I quote, the Puerto Rican people have never, not once, voted for independence. For more than a century, they have been united in their desire to remain a part of the United States one way or another, whether through statehood or some other form of association. And this past November, statehood received 57% of the vote, while support for the independence did rise, reaching a little over 30%. That still leaves a supermajority opposed to independence. In other words, President Maduro is just another in an endless line of politicians who are happy to ignore the will of the Puerto Rican electorate and instead exploit the issue of Puerto Rico's status for their own political gain. Amilcar Antonio Barreto, a professor of culture, societies, and global studies at Northeastern University, whose work has focused on Puerto Rico and Latinos in the U.S., told Newsweek, I don't think anyone is going to take this seriously in Puerto Rico, the U.S., or Brazil. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton previously told Newsweek he would advise Marco Rubio, Trump's Secretary of State nominee, to, quote, ensure that Maduro does not believe he has won. And he also added, when the opposition loses momentum, it gives dictators like Maduro the opportunity to strengthen their grip, close quote. What's next? Trump will return to the White House at noon on January 20th. It remains to be seen how this administration will respond to Maduro's regime. And there you go. That's the end of that article. So I wanted to bring that up to you about what's going on in Venezuela because, as we know, the Venezuelan Bolivar is the wild card in the currency exchange. So we will see how that works. Over here and get this lined up. There we go. All right. Over here to the comments real quick. Bear, how you doing? Always good to see you, my brother. Thank you for being here. Salvador Montano, welcome to the show. I've been looking forward to this one. Thank you for your work you're doing. Godspeed. That's it. My day's made. I got to thank you. So that's all I'm looking for is just, one a day, kind of like the vitamins. If I can help and assist you and prevent you from wasting your time, money, and energy and put you on the right path to the truth, whatever that looks like, wherever it is, that's what I'm going to do. So as I always do, I swear, tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth. So help me God. I'll just get that out of the way for you guys. So thank you for being here, Salvador. I'm looking forward to this show too. I really am because, some of you may or may not know, I got involved with Anna von Reitz's Federation of States, Texas State Assembly back in 2020. I had no idea who Anna von Reitz was. How I stumbled into that whole thing, was by happenstance. And let me break the story down to you because it's relevant and hopefully I can fulfill the next 45 minutes or so with this story, but I doubt it. I'll get back to the comments. So I had heard about the whole American state national status I didn't know anybody that was there, didn't know about any groups, nothing like that. So I'm down at Galveston hanging with my best friend, and one of her patio chairs, because she faced the ocean on the seawall in Galveston, the chair had rusted apart and needed to be replaced. Well, there's a Home Depot in Galveston. They did not have that style of chair, but the Lowe's in Texas City, they had one. So that's where I had to go to get this. So on my way to Lowe's in another city, I stopped by HEB, grabbed some lunch real quick, and then across the freeway, I went to Lowe's. We all know how big a Lowe's and Home Depot parking lot are. They're gigantic, right? You can pretty much park anywhere, in the front door, the exit door, wherever you want to park. So I'm just meandering through the parking lot, not really caring where the hell I park. So I'm looking for outdoor patio furniture, and most of it's on the front right there. So I just pull in and park, get out, and I start walking, and I glance at this truck, and I see a license plate, and the license plate says American State Nationals. I'm like, I'll be damned. An American State National. And I'm looking at the truck, and the truck's, it's a construction truck. It's just a pickup truck. It's dented, beat up, got construction crap in the back. So I walk up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, for American State National, why are they working? Why don't they have a brand new truck and all that? So I was like, do I walk in and forget about this, or do I just stand here and wait? And I could be here for 2 hours waiting for this person to come out. So I decided to wait. And, thank God, in 5 to 10 minutes, this little Hispanic guy walks out, and I said, is this your truck? He's like, yeah. I said, hi, my name's Floyd Tarbin, bro. You're an American State National, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. I'm glad I finally met one. He's like, okay. So we ended up having this conversation. Gentleman's name was Julian. We're still friends. And he turned me on to the Texas State Assembly. He's like, here's the email, all the contact information. We have these weekly meetings. Jump on that meeting and listen. If it's something, you want to be involved with, then great. We'd be glad to have you. I was like, okay, cool. So I sat in on a few meetings, and I listened to Kim Reynolds, who was then the state coordinator, and all the other movers and shakers in the group. And I pretty much just remained a wallflower, listened to everything. And I was like, God dang, man, finally some people just like me who know that the state of Texas is corrupt, it's fraudulent, a whole 9 yards. So I'm thinking, boom, I'm in a room full of like-minded people who really want to make change. So as the meetings progressed, I made myself, more and more vocal, and boom, everybody's like, oh, he knows a lot about the law. I eventually became the elected justice for the Texas State Assembly. Once I was elected to that position, I immediately went, okay, now what kind of real authority do I have here, lawfully and legally? So as I'm doing my investigation, boom, Bruce Doucette and the Colorado 9 pop up. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this? And I was like, damn, that dude got sentenced to 38 years in Colorado State Prison for doing pretty much what I was thinking about doing. What am I involved with here? Because I definitely don't want to go to prison for doing something illegal and unlawful that I did out of ignorance. So when I started doing my research, I started stumbling on more and more information about Anavon rights. So then I just quit looking at the whole justice stuff, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm resigning. I'm stepping down. And then as the week progressed, I got more and more deeper into Anavon rights and found out exactly what she's all about. And I realized, oh my God, I'm with a very evil person who doesn't give a damn about her members. Not a damn. I mean, not one iota. She does not care. If you go to prison, you're SOL. You will never, ever, ever on any Anavon Rights website or a state assembly website with her affiliation, showing you a tab where you can donate to Bruce Doucette for his commissary or his legal defense fund or any of that. Doesn't exist. She doesn't care. So as I was doing my investigation, I'm hitting up Kim Reynolds going, hey, man, what's up with this Anna woman? What's she all about? Well, I didn't know it at the time, but Eric Dingus was doing a parallel investigation. So Eric and I are both emailing Kim. Kim doesn't tell us that we're both doing the same thing. She's emailing Anna Von Reitz, who's, denying everything, blame shifting, counterattacking, that kind of garbage. And it got real out of hand. And it got to the point where all the movers and shakers in the Texas State Assembly, myself, the first person who became a papered up member, recording secretaries, their spouses, other people, Eric, we all met at this little country chapel in Dripping Springs, Texas. Very quaint, beautiful little setting. We all met there on, I think, a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, sat down at this large table, and boom, we all laid out what we knew. And we came to the conclusion that we were in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people, and that if we continue to do what we do, we're probably going to get in some trouble, if not put on a list. You know what I'm talking about. So I resigned, rescinded all my membership bullshit, and I'm done with Anna Von Reitz. Some other people stayed. Other people, they've fallen out. We're still in contact, communication, and, they're just done. They don't want anything to do with anything. They got spun out. Their time, money, and energy expended. They don't have any more. They don't want to invest anymore. And I could get into the whole Anna Von Reitz's bank and all that crap, but I've addressed that many times. There are these others assemblies. So I contacted them once I started doing my show. Contacted Desiree Payne. I've talked to the Republic of Texas folks. I've talked to other assembly people and, whoever they're affiliated with all over the country. And the problem is there's so much division and hate and loathsomeness between these different entities, because you have Scott McKay's Patriot Street Fighters over here, where he has these counties that he's setting up, but the only way you can get in there is a paid subscription to Scott McKay's platform. Well, that sounds like division. Divide and conquer. I'm not saying they're not doing a good thing. I don't know really anything about that. But you have his little group, you have Anna's group, Destry's group, the David Levis Straight followers, and all these other journal assemblies and groups and PMAs all across the country. And until they all work in harmony, they all say, like, you know what? All you crazy sovereign citizens over there, and then you state nationals, American state nationals, people doing the private process, people doing this, and then all the way over here to the conservatives, the Republican parties, the MAGA members, the QAnons. Guess what all those people are trying to do? The same dang thing. They are all trying to get away from the tyrannical corporate government. We all know about the birth certificate bonds, straw man, the SESQ-KV trust, all that. All those people, all those groups. However, they all want to divide and conquer. They all want to be the top dog, the number one. And I don't care who's number one. I don't care who the top dog is. I just want to know how we can get there and who can get us there and how we can get there. Whatever that looks like, and whoever it is. So I'm not picky. I'm definitely not playing favoritism, because this isn't about favorites. This is about facts, getting to an end just dessert. You have a goal, you can achieve that goal. If you just have this path and you don't know what your end goal is, you're never going to achieve it. So I've spoken to Dr. Miarecki, and we just kind of covered a broad range of her and her accomplishments, her background, and I really didn't dive in too much into the Republic of Texas because I wanted to save this and allow her to explain it to you, because in her own words, she's been very successful with her appearances on social media, being able to have people comprehend what exactly they're trying to do, and they're ready to just join up and get involved. So I would like her to do that. All right, Larry, how you doing? Thank you for showing up. It's just a rumor JD Vance is not going to be at the inauguration, and I covered this. I didn't cover the fact JD Vance is going to be there, but yeah, absolutely. He should not be there because he's second in line. Last thing they want, Mike Johnson is the VP, right? So an inauguration can take place anywhere. It does not have to happen in DC. It can happen at Mar-a-Lago, Bedminster, Houston, Texas. Happen anywhere. It just has to happen January 20th at noon. And in fact, a former president was sworn in by his own father. Yeah, just go watch the video I did on President Trump's inauguration. So in national security interest, yeah, that's an excellent choice. Hey, girl, how you doing? Welcome back to the show, as always. So that's it. I got 4 comments. Wow, that's kick-ass. All right, so I am at 12:28. Let me go over here and let me tell you a little bit about who Dr. Miarecki is. Dr. Sandy Miarecki is a retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Air Force and holds a PhD in particle physics. She has been actively involved in advocating for the restoration of the Republic as envisioned by the Founding Fathers, as well as fighting against what she perceives as illegal mandates and tyranny within the military. Dr. Miarecki has been a vocal critic of certain policies and has supported cadets and students in their effort to oppose these mandates. She has also been involved in public discussions and interviews, sharing her insights and experience, including a recent interview on July 12, 2024, where she discussed the re-inhabited Republic of the United States, or for the United States of America. And let me go forward. All right. Furthermore, she was born in Chicago and raised in Northern Illinois. She excelled academically, being the valedictorian of her high school class and later attending the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Dr. Miarecki had aspirations to become an astronaut and pursued a degree in astrophysics while participating in the Air Force ROTC program. She served as cadet commander, and after graduation, she underwent pilot training in Lubbock, Texas, where she became an instructor pilot for the T-37 aircraft. She was unable to fly combat aircraft due to gender restrictions at the time. Did you hear that correctly, folks? They didn't allow female pilots. We'll get into that. She was assigned to fly C-141 cargo aircraft missions worldwide, including operations in the first Gulf War. In 1992, she experienced declining health after receiving a vaccine and was later selected to the Air Force Test Pilot School at Edwards Air Force Base, graduating in the summer of 1996. Dr. Miarecki retired from the Air Force in 2007 and pursued further education, earning a master's and a PhD in particle physics. She was hired as a federal civilian in 2016 and worked as a physics instructor at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. She was known for her strong stance against what she perceived as illegal mandates in the military. Was fired from her position at the Air Force Academy for refusing to comply with certain mandates, particularly those related to the COVID vaccine. She continues to advocate for her beliefs and supports legal defense funds and scholarships for those affected by similar mandates. So, let's dig into that, what she's all about. The United States Air Force Test Pilot School. The U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School, the USAF TPS, boy, they love their acronyms, is a specialized advanced flight training school that trains experimental test pilots, flight test engineers, and flight test navigators. Located at Edwards Air Force Base in the Mojave Desert of Southern California, the school was established on September 9th, 1944 as the Flight Test Training Unit at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. For those of you who don't know, that's where all the UFOs are. It was officially moved to its current location on February 4th, 1951. The curriculum of the USAF TPS is designed to grant a Master of Science degree in flight test engineering through the Air Force's Air University at the end of a 48-week course, which is a year. The school's mission is to produce highly adaptive, critical thinking flight test professionals to lead and conduct full spectrum tests and evaluations of aerospace weapons, and to the world's premier educational and training center for theoretical and applied flight test engineering. Admission to the TPS, Test Pilot School, is extremely competitive. Candidates must meet specific requirements, including a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Math, or Physics, and have at least 12 months experience as an aircraft commander in a major weapon system, or as an instructor pilot in an MWS. I don't know what MWS is. Additionally, candidates must have a minimum GPA of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale and pass a flying Class 2 physical. The school has a rich history and has produced notable alumni, including astronauts, generals, and famous first flight pilots. Some notable alumni include James J.B. Brown, F-22 Raptor lead test pilot, and F-117 Nighthawk. Kelly Latimer, the first female test pilot for NASA's DFRC. Lou Schalk, first flight of the A-12. Robert Cardenas, B-29 commander. Wilbert Pearson, first pilot to shoot down a satellite. Okay. The TPS continues to adapt and evolve to meet the needs of the Air Force and aerospace industry, including adding training programs for flight test engineers and navigators, and more recently for remotely piloted aircraft pilots. If you are not familiar with what it takes to become a test pilot in the United States Air Force, let's go look at that, okay? Because Dr. Sandy Miarecki is a fucking badass, okay? A badass. Not only is she beautiful and intelligent, but she has the physical attributes to compete with the best of the best the U.S. Air Force has to produce. Absolutely. For that alone, she has my utmost respect. To get in there and mingle with the baddest of the bad boys in the U.S. Air Force, that took quite a bit of temerity on her part. I can't even imagine the prejudice and everything else. And maybe we'll get into that. But test pilots, oh, they're the studs of the Air Force. I mean, they're like SEAL Team 6. Okay. That's how badass they are. So over here in test pilot school, just to give you an example of what she goes through. Admission into test pilot school is extremely competitive, which we've covered. Thousands of pilots apply. Not uncommonly, some students have been alternated 2 or 3 times before being accepted. Civilians are also permitted and encouraged to apply for the long course program. Prospective students should provide AF Form 1711 USA Air Force Test Pilot School application plus additional forms specific to a USAF pilot navigator, B experimental FTE, and C civilian applicant for the selection board. Experimental FTE and civilian applicants are required to undergo a flying class 3 physical before facing the TPS selection board. Applications must be received by the Special Flying Program Section Headquarters, AFPC/DPAOT3. I don't know what any of that means. No later than 45 days before selection boards meet. UCCR selection boards are held once a year at the headquarters of the Air Force Personnel Center. The boards are normally held in November, and the board selects the TPS-2 classes for the next year. At this point, AFIT TPS students and students from foreign TPS schools are also selected. TPS Commandant chairs the board. Board members consist of an HQ AFPC colonel, and at least a majority of the board members must be TPS graduates, majors, or lieutenant colonels who are standing flight test squadron commanders. The AFMC/DO selects board members. Admission requirements. All candidates require secret clearance. Do you hear me? All candidates require secret clearance. As of May 2015, the minimum admission requirements for the application are, and you can see them right here. I don't want to get into all this, but takes quite a bit of experience to get in here. Exchange program, course of study, the curriculum, 4 main subdisciplines taught by the test pilot school education division are performance, flying quality, systems, test management. They also offer short courses in these areas: aerospace vehicle test course, unmanned aerial vehicle flight test engineering, electronic warfare flight test engineering, test management, equations of motion, propulsion, senior executive course. Organization of the class uses chain of command, commandant, deputy commandant, class leader, students. Faculty facilities include 2 fully functional control rooms, radar and electro-optics lab, variable stability in-flight simulator, test aircraft, or F-16 Vista. Student library, about 100 airborne laboratories over the course of the academic year, from Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-15 to Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirits. So that's test pilot school. That's what she's gone through. As I said, she's a badass. So if we all remember the infamous movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer and all those other good stars, how cocky they were, she said that doesn't even compare to the cockiness, the narcissism, the egos that the traditionally male test pilots have. So she's in a room full of, so that's an accomplishment. Very good accomplishment. All right. Dana Newton, let's go, Sandy. I agree. Thanks for showing up. Hello, Buffy. Welcome to the show. Get a chance, give me a buzz later. Well, that makes sense why the Appalachia has seen a lot of activity. Chris, it's smarter than I can be. Laughing out loud. I'm glad that people have it going on upstairs. And this is going to be some good stuff. Yeah, we're going to dive into, the re-inhabited Republic of the United States of America, what that looks like. We're going to discuss these other assemblies, and until people wake up. And I'm going to use Anna von Reitz because I'm a former member. I think I have the right to utilize that platform and express it as an analogy of weighing. Hey, you got this over here and this over here. Which one should you choose? So there's a lot of people over there in Anna von Reitz's assemblies, and they think they're doing a really good thing, and they're really going to make a change, and they're not. Once they get everybody up to speed and acclimated and ready to stand on their own, guess what Anna's going to do? Throw a chaos bomb in the middle of that and blow it up. And they're going to have to restart over. And this has been a pattern for years with Anna von Reitz. There's not one state in Anna's assembly that stood up working autonomously. Not one. Never has been one. Period. You folks, I'm so sad to say, you're in a vicious cycle. You're just chasing your tail, going in circles. And if you've given money to Anna's bank, you're kind of trapped. Because if you raise hell about not being able to get your money back out, boom, you get kicked out of the assembly. Now, how does that work? So people are being held hostage for their money that they've invested in Anna's bank, which I've reiterated hundreds of times. The bank's in Switzerland, not the United States. It's not at 2525 North Loop West, Suite 125, Houston, Texas, as it's alleged on the Global Family Bank website. All that is bullshit. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're money laundering. I don't know if they're just straight scamming people. But guess what? Things are not as they seem or they say to be. Because I did an 18-minute undercover video with Artemio Colonel of Colonel Financial Services, which is at Suite 125, 2525 North Loop West, Houston, Texas. And he clearly on video, on my undercover video, states he has no affiliation with Anna's bank, Global Family Bank, nothing. Yet you go look on the Global Family's website, he's listed as the chief financial officer. How does that work? And why would the fiduciary of the United States of America be sending all the money deposited into the bank to Switzerland? Really? This is what the folks are involved in, and they don't know it. And it's sad, and they don't want to hear it. They don't want to go watch my videos. The probably 24 I've done on Anna von Reitz in the assembly. Give me 1 second. Somebody who doesn't want to say anything. So it's very sad and depressing. And people who follow David Lester Straight. And last year, a year ago, he started his whole masterminds program with freedombot.com. And I don't know who those two clowns are that have the Freedom Bot thing. But in that program, David Lester Straight told you that within a year, 12 months after, paying this exorbitant amount of money, that you're going to have access to your minor trust. Well, in December, I did my annual review, and guess what? Nobody has come forward saying, oh, yeah, I used the mastermind program from freedombots.com, and I have access to my trust. Fuck you, Fearless Floyd. I'm waiting. I want all the fuck yous I can get. Not one. Why? Because it's a scam. Don't waste your time and money, energy with fruitless endeavors. And I'm going to tell you this from my own heart, my own experience. The people in your life and the people you allow into your life, if they're not there to lift you up, to help you be more successful in your life, get them the fuck out of your life. If they're creating negativity in your life in any shape, form, or fashion, if you don't have peace and harmony and serenity within your own constitution, get them out of there. If they create anxiety, drama, get them out of there. Find peace of mind. For those of you who don't know, by the grace of God, May 10th, 2025, I will have 23 years of sobriety, no alcohol. For me, that's astounding. If you would ask anybody prior to that time that I would have 23 years sober in the future, I'm sure they would laugh at you. I'm not that guy. That guy's the party animal. He's not a party animal. He's the party animal. We're scared of that guy because he don't stop. And that's who I was. So when you're going through this, I operate in recovery and my sobriety. And when you bring people into your life or people try to push themselves into your life and they're not genuine and they're there just to leech off of you like a parasite, and you find yourself becoming an enabler, which is against your recovery, you have to make changes in your life. When somebody's just taking from you and not giving back, you have to get rid of them. And for people that are going to do the RV, currency exchange, believe me, you're going to have a line outside your door of those same people. And some of these gurus who claim that, you know, they got this assembly and whatever, they're the same kind of people. If you go back and look at the history of Anna von Reitz, everything that she's done, she's no different from me, from you, from anybody else. She's just been doing it longer. She's been doing it about the same amount of time I have. If you go look at her filings, she was doing the redemption process just like everybody else was at the same time. Does she know something that we don't? Or do we know the same things that she does? Exactly. So until all these assemblies, journal assemblies, Scott McKay's Patriot Street Fighters, or whatever, all these different organizations that are all wanting the same thing, decide that, hey, you know what? They're doing the same thing we are. Why don't we join forces, become a majority instead of a bunch of minorities? And we're going to dive all into that with the doctor, and I can't wait because I really want to hear her explain this in a way that will make people in these other assemblies and organizations jump ship and join. Because, you know, in fact, listen, I don't even know if the re-inhabited restoration of, you know, the United States of America, I don't even know if that's plausible. I don't even know if that's the way to go. But I do know that I have somebody here who's more intelligent than I am, smarter than I am, probably a bit more of a badass than I am, and I'm a badass. And I highly respect this woman. Just because I don't know if you've seen pictures of her when she was a bit younger. Gorgeous woman. And I can't even imagine having to compete with the studs in the Air Force being a lone female. That's why I'm an underdog for the females, because they are so suppressed due to male dominance. And I really take my hat off to her and give her my utmost respect. She's put it all on the line for her beliefs. And I couldn't be prouder to have her come on the show. She is currently backstage, and I will bring her on in just a second. Let me run through the comments real quick and get you guys out of the way. Thank you. I need to register for you. Okay. Thank you for all your videos. You're welcome, Susan. Thank you for coming. Right. That's, yep. Buffy, that is correct. Hey, Tahoe. How you doing? Are you keeping count? Saw you earlier on Mark. Texas isn't the only state that is corrupt. They're all corrupt. Some are more corrupt than the others. But yeah, I have not seen a state yet that's, they're like, oh, I want to go live there. They got it going on. You didn't get a notification, Diane. That's screw tube for you. I know y'all can hit them. And Blue Sky, Swiss Banking Authority. That's where the Roman Empire has their base of operations. Switzerland CH is probably where our gold is. I actually asked Artemio Colonel, because he told me that I could take these, I call them Anabucks, about what they are, where I could go redeem them. Because if I invested my fiat currency, my US dollars, into the bank, and I wanted to cash that out for gold, where would I go? Oh, all over the world, he said. Well, okay, well, where's that? Where can I go in Houston? Oh, well, you can't go anywhere in Houston. Well, why not? Well, there's no physical location to do it. Well, then how do I get my money back in gold? You said it's gold asset backed, and you told me that there's no gold in the actual note. So where do I go get the gold? Well, California. Okay, well, where in California? Well, they don't have any brick and mortar locations. Well, bro, you're talking in circles. Okay, that's what I'm thinking in my head. And I'm trying to play dumb the whole interview while I'm trying to elicit information from him. And the whole thing's just a farce. A farce. Chris, welcome to the show. Yep. Bank of International Settlements, Central Bank. No, it's not the BIS. They have a specific bank, her and Hunter a key, and I don't know who the account holders are for that account, but if you take a stupid ass deep dive into the minutia of the whole global family entity, and they got so many different names and websites to keep you confused for a purpose, but you have to dig deep in every link on every web page to find this, these little nuggets of information. And if you dig deep enough, you'll find that it's all going to Switzerland. Absolutely. Tahoe. Yeah. Thank you. Very proud to be able to do that. And I actually really do love my AA club. I believe it's one of the best ones in the world, if not the best in the world. There are professional athletes, Hall of Famers that attend my club, gold medal Olympians that attend my club. Absolutely. So it doesn't matter whether you're wealthy, famous, honored, awarded. Addiction affects everybody all across the board. So if you ever get a chance and you're in Houston, go to the Post Oak Club on Long Point and check out that fabulous facility. Because I've been to AA clubs all over the country, and it is by far stellar. Excellent. I love it. I love going back there. I usually just go once a year. I go for my birthday. I go up and I do my little spiel and tell everybody, hey, look, as an inspiration, this is where I was in 2016. This is where I am today. You can change your life. You can be successful. It's just up to you to want to help yourself, because if you help yourself, other people will help you achieve your goals. But you have to be genuine, trustworthy, have integrity, honor, good faith, and clean hands in all your motivations. If not, you're going to burn those bridges. And then you're going to find yourself out on an island all alone, screaming for help, but nobody will help you anymore because you burned those bridges. So be careful about that. All right. I have Sandy. She has been patiently waiting backstage for about 5 minutes. And again, let me find out where her tab is. Well, I lost it for some reason. Here we go. Dr. Sandy Miarecki is a retired lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Air Force and holds a PhD in physics, actually particle physics. She was born in Chicago and raised in Northern Illinois. She excelled academically, being valedictorian of her high school class and later attending the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Again, she's a badass. Dr. Miarecki had aspirations to become an astronaut and pursued a degree in astrophysics while participating in the Air Force ROTC program. She served as cadet commander after graduation. She underwent pilot training in Lubbock, Texas, where she became an instructor pilot in the T-37 aircraft. If you're not familiar with it, what a T-37 is, it's those chase planes that the astronauts did to follow the space shuttle when it was in existence. And the astronauts use those as their personal planes while they are employed with NASA to traverse to the different locales regarding NASA activities. She was unable to fly combat due to her gender restrictions at the time, where they allowed no female pilots to become fighter pilots, only cargo. She was assigned to fly C-141 cargo aircraft missions worldwide, including operations during the first Gulf War. In 1992, she experienced declining health after receiving a vaccine and was later selected for the Air Force Test Pilot School at Edwards Air Force Base, graduating in the summer of 1996. Dr. Miarecki retired from the Air Force in 2007 and pursued further education, earning a master's and PhD in particle physics. She was hired as a federal civilian in 2016 and worked as a physics instructor at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. She was known for her strong stance against what she perceived as illegal mandates in the military and was fired from her position as the Air Force Academy for refusing to comply with certain mandates, particularly those related to the jab. She continues to advocate for her beliefs and support legal defense funds and scholarships for those affected by similar mandates. She currently is the interim governor of Texas for the Republic for the United States of America. Let me give you a quick shot of the website before I bring her on. Here you go. We're going to dive into this. She's going to explain a lot of this information in here for you guys. It is quite lengthy. And without further ado, I am very proud and honored to bring to the show Dr. Sandy Miarecki, PhD, Air Force, Lieutenant Colonel, retired. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Floyd. It's nice to be here.
Hey, I'm humbled. Very seldom do I meet a woman who is a more badass individual than I am. So, because after we spoke, I went and I took a deeper dive into you, and I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did want to make one little clarification in the bio. Okay. The T-37 is actually the little squat Cessna, and that was the first aircraft that I was teaching in. But I did eventually fly the T-38, which is the ones that you described that were the chase planes for the shuttle. So I was an instructor at the school that taught the instructors. So that's what I did towards the end of my career.
As I said, she's a badass. And here she is, sacrificing her life, her livelihood, potential freedom. I mean, it can go on and on and on what this looks like for the betterment of humanity and the United States. Whoops. Hang on. All right, something pop up. Where do you want to dive in? Do you want to add anything to your introduction, to your bio that I missed?
No, you hit the highlights. That's really good. I have nothing to.
Okay. Tell everybody how you stumbled into this.
So at the time, I was at the Air Force Academy teaching, as you already mentioned, and COVID came. I think I have to be careful with my certain words, so I will be very careful, try to talk around it. So the students were coming to me and asking for help. And they said, I just know it in my heart that I should not take these jabbies. And what can I do? And I said, well, there's this regulation that says medical exemption and religious exemption. Have they told you? No. Okay. So I told them, I said, this is how it works. And they asked for help. And I said, okay, I'll help you with the paperwork, etc. Well, that got me in trouble. And long story, we go on for like a couple of hours on just that story. Eventually, I got fired in September of 2022. So this was August of 21 when the so-called mandates came down, which we know were 100% illegal. There's no way you can require an experimental anything on anyone. And they knew it because I told them. So I was a whistleblower on top of everything else. So I'm not going to follow an illegal order. I told them they're giving me illegal orders, and they did it anyway. So October of 2021, so while all this is happening, I am introduced by a mutual friend to the interim governor for the state of California, or for Colorado Free State in the Republic for the United States of America. It's a long title. We all have these. And so we're all interim in the Republic, and I'll get to that here in a minute. But for an hour and a half, he was dropping truth bomb after truth bomb on me, and I'm writing them down as fast as I can, typing actually, because I can type a lot faster than I can write. And I learned about the Republic at that point. I did the deep dive. I'm learning everything that I can. I'm reading the books. There's actual books about the Republic, the history of how it was. Essentially, we had an abandoned republic, and so they reseated it. So with that, I continued to get involved. I couldn't take on any of the positions because of something called the Hatch Act, restricting federal civilians. And so I'm like, okay, but I can volunteer to help. And so I became outreach coordinator. That's why I'm talking to you now. And as I'm watching my supervisory chain break even more, commit even more crimes, I realized I was going to get fired. I just knew it. I could see what they were setting up. They started to lie about me now because they couldn't get me on actual laws, because the law was on my side and they knew that. So they had to start lying. And then eventually by September of 2022, I was fired. So while this is going on, I'm praying, God, I know you brought me here. I know you needed me here to do what I just did. What do you want me to do next? Because I don't see a path, right? And so randomly, just two people come into my life. I meet them for the first time, never seen them before, and start talking. And I hear these key words that are associated with the Republic. And I went, are you with the Republic? They go, well, yes, we are. How do you know about the Republic? Go into that story. I'm like, okay, God, that could have been a coincidence. Please, God, show me, tell me what you need me to do. Tell me. 3 weeks later, exact same thing. Random person comes into my life, starts talking keywords from the Republic. Are you with the Republic? Why, yes, I am. Okay, got it. Sledgehammer, boom. I'm supposed to be in the Republic. And so I after I was fired in September of 2022, now I'm perfectly eligible to take on any seat that they need me to in the Republic. And so at the time, I'm still in Colorado Springs, where the Air Force Academy is. And they asked me to be the House of Representatives representative for Colorado. So I took the oath, got appointed, signed the paperwork, etc. And that's what I did. But living at 7,000 feet is really hard on your health, especially when you are jabby damaged. Now, I never took the COVID jabbies. I only had to take the regular ones, right? Your yellow fever, typhoid, flu shots, that garbage, which are not as dangerous and poisonous, but still dangerous and poisonous. Of course, I'm like, I have no idea, like everyone else, right?
Y'all had to have a protocol to when y'all were overseas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all the cargo flying, right? Your Africa, your South America, the Philippines, you're all over Pacific. It's like, so there's requirements for you to go into these locations. And of course, precautions, which if these things actually worked, the jabbies, then they'd be a great precaution, but they don't work. All they are is poison, zero benefit, all risk. So anyone who's out there, you better do your research, because none of them have been safety tested. And that's the highwire.com. Go look at Del Bigtree's stuff and Jeffrey Jackson and Aaron Seary. They have done the deep dives. They have done the FOIA requests. They have asked the government, just show us any study, just one, about any of these shots.
Highwire.com?
Thehighwire.com.
Thehighwire.com.
They are awesome. They give you all the receipts. You do your own research. They say, this is how we interpret it, but here, you read it. You go see. So get me back on track. Jabbies. So, yeah. So 7,000 feet's not good for your health. Generally, if you're very healthy, it's great if you're an Olympian, because the Olympic Training Center is right there. But for ordinary individuals that are having health issues, not so good. So I looked at East Texas for various reasons, and I ended up moving here in April of 2023. So I'm near you, neighborly wise, and 500 feet. That's better, and a lot better weather. So our winter is 2 months long or so. Up there it was 6 months long. I'm from Chicago.
What part of Texas you're in.
That's true.
Yeah.
The Lubbock, Texas area where, I went to pilot training, they had their own set of storms and cold weather and, freezing temperatures and ice storms and whatever. And there seemed to be like one ice storm per year in San Antonio, which is where I was stationed for a lot of my career. But, it's okay. It's a big deal. Oh, it's going to be all the way down to 25. Oh, that's it. That's what it was so far, in January. So I can deal with that. It's the 3 feet of snow blizzards. I don't want that anymore. So, yeah. So God led me to the Republic, like he does a lot of people, because as outreach coordinator, I'm also responsible for watching the inbox of people who write in with questions. And for example, I'll get probably a few emails from folks that are listening to us right now that go, as soon as I heard everything she was saying, I signed up before the end of the podcast because I felt it was the truth and it was right. And God brought me. I was like, every other day, I get the same emails. It's just amazing. God's plan. God is just, he's all over this. This is his Republic. And so all we can do is support it as best as we can.
Absolutely. All right. So you get involved with the Colorado.
Starting Colorado and then
group
ended up.
there.
So now I'm in Texas and I go, okay, Republic, let me know who the governor is so that I can, have a conversation and see where I can help out. And the next thing is, congratulations, Governor. I'm like, oh, there's nobody in Texas? Oh, God. Thank you. So,
really?
Yeah. So
there was nobody in Texas?
That's how I got the job. Nope. Oh, I mean, there were. So in the short story of the Republic, this was and it goes back to 1871, Organic Act of 1871. You'll have people argue, oh, you know, it really didn't. No, what it did was it pushed the republic completely out of the picture and only had the corporation in place. Whereas before, maybe the corporation was like running invoices, you know, kind of behind the scenes, doing the finances for the republic. But then 1871 just got rid of it. Well, did it really get rid of it? Was it abolished or was it just abandoned? And in this case, it was just abandoned. There was nobody in the seats. So a group of good guy military, starting around the time of JFK's assassination, somewhere in the 60s, they, from what we can tell, is a group of retired generals from all the services that knew each other, and they knew that there was something seriously wrong with the country and they need something to do about it. And so they start pulling in, recruiting friends and whatever. And then by the 70s, 80s, they're trying to come up with a plan, and they got this plan, and then not such a good plan. And then 1990s, during the Clinton administration, they tried to do something. We don't know what it was. This is now stories that the good guy military are telling our people. And so I'm repeating what the person who heard this, and, you know, I'm telling it to you. And so the military tells this person that about 300 of their members were assassinated by the Clintons because they took action before they were completely ready, and then, you know, got discovered, found out, whatever, and they were killed. So took a major hit, had to recruit again, you know, to get more people. I don't know how much 300 was of their group. Was that half? Was it all? I don't know. So now so now they're collecting, you know.
When you're making those statements, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Just say allegedly. My audience knows what you're talking about. But
well, as I said up front, this is the words of them.
Right. But to protect yourself.
This is what they said. So I'm repeating what they said.
Yeah.
So I guess everything's allegedly when it's someone else, right?
Well,
so,
even when we know it is truth,
right,
we still have to throw out the allegedly to, you know, keep the idiots off of us, the fact checkers.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to go there. Okay.
Exactly.
I've seen a meme about that, and I'm not going there. So anyway, so now mid 2000s, they are watching patriot groups very carefully as to who is actually doing something. And so they approach a group that's led by James Timothy Turner. He just goes by Tim Turner. And he's teaching Constitution. He's teaching how to lawfully stop paying IRS income taxes, how to lawfully do all these things that, you know, they can't force you because they've tricked us into thinking that we, living men and women, are corporations. So that's not exactly true. But what's happened is through the birth certificates, and you've probably talked about this with other guests, through the birth certificates, what they do is it's not the one that we get from the hospital. It's not the, you know, with the little boxes that has, you know, name, baby's name, parent's name, age, you know, all that. That we all get freely from the hospital or from the county clerk or whoever. But behind that, they create a fraudulent one. One's called a certificate of live birth and one's called a birth certificate. Man, that sounds the same. And they try to trick us into thinking they're the same thing so that we only ask for the one copy. But behind it is this thing with an all capital letters name, which indicates a corporation. So what they did was identity theft. They stole the baby's identity. It was only a couple days old. And they created this fraudulent corporation called a Sestu KV Trust. And what they do is they trade these on the stock market and they make money. And every tax that you've ever paid goes into this trust. This is like, you know, like a giant savings account, and it gets millions and millions of dollars over time. And we have no idea. They're doing it without our consent in fraud, which means that under identity theft, it becomes ours. There's a whole other can of worms. And so now Tim Turner is approached by this group of military, and they say, we've been watching you and your group, and we think you guys are awesome. That's probably not their words, but you get the basic idea.
what year generally was that?
2008, November-ish, I think, of 2008.
Okay.
And they say, we need you guys to reform the republic because we don't have one, which Tim already knew and all of his folks because of what they're teaching, right? That this is the 1871 Organic Act and all this stuff, hijacked the Federal Reserve, the IRS, the taking us off the gold standard, the murder of JFK by our own people. And that's hopefully going to come out in about a week. So we'll find out all those facts here certainly soon. And so that's how it all got started. And so Tim Turner energizes his millions of followers, tells them what's going on, and that they need to reseat the republic. So he fasts and prays. I mean, a real fast, like only water, for several days. And then God tells him what to do, gives him a message. So Tim writes it all down. And the next time he meets the military, he presents it to them and he says, here's what we've come up with. And the military's jaw's on the table and they go, where did you get this? This is the best plan we've seen in 50 years. Go ahead and do it. And so part of that is, of course, going back to the original, reseating the original republic that was abandoned, using the original organic parchment copy in the archives Constitution, not the fake one that they've got us believing is the real one that says Constitution of the United States in all caps. That's a corporate entity, and that's optional when you're a corporation. There's no such thing. And so we wonder why they're not following it. It's like, oh, because there's no such thing in a corporation. Okay, so now they realize that they've got to, what do you do with a state? Because what happened when Washington, D.C. incorporated, disparate things do not mix. So if you're different, like a corporation and a living man and woman, or a corporation and a republic, they don't mix.
Right.
Therefore, Washington told each of the states, hey, states, you've got to be corporations too. However they did it, it's a great thing, or bribed them or threatened them or whatever, but they all got the states to do that. And any state that came in the Union after 1871 came in as a corporation, has never been a republic. Now we've got original colonies. We've got states that were republics that were tricked into becoming corporations. And then we've got states that have only been corporations. So you treat them all the same with no government for 140 years or less if you came in later, like Hawaii. And you are reverting back to territory status. There's no rule that says that, but is that the most conservative thing to do? Yes. Because you've reverted all the way. You don't, not really a state anymore. Now, some would argue, well, a state never goes away because it's a trust and all that. Another podcast. The conservative thing to do was to say, everybody's a territory and everybody needs to follow, and this was the linchpin, the Northwest Ordinance. That was something that came in 1787 between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution. And it laid out in checklist form, this is what you do if you want to become a territory of the United States, and then if you want to become a state in the United States. Check, 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 check. Do this, do that. Write this, write that. Approve this, approve that. Have this election. So the Republic reseated all of these states and counties using that as the guide, as closely as they could. And they started to reseat first the counties, because you have to start, we the people are the government. It says that right in our documents. And yet here we are with this, tyrannical ruling political class that thinks that they are emperors or something. And we just go, okay, because we've been dumbed down so badly in our education system, quote unquote education system, taken over by the corporation to intentionally make us dumb, that we don't know the difference. So territories have to go through this process. Well, one of the things that it says in the Northwest Ordinance is there's 8 positions that you need in order to apply for statehood. Governor, makes sense. Secretary of State, House of Representatives, 1 per 30,000 inhabitants. Okay, well, that's in the republic. Okay, we don't have that yet, so we only get one. And then 2 senators, automatic. Everyone gets 2 senators. And then 3 state justices. Those are the 8 positions. And the appointment authority is the President of the United States. Well, we didn't have one. And so therefore, they started to select them at the state level. And in November of 2010, so about 2 years later, they had a super quorum, the 3/4 majority that you need of the states, of the 50, that had been reseated and could now come into a continental Congress and could now sign something called a Declaration of Sovereign Intent, which says the Republic is back. And here we are. And here are all of our stamps and our signatures and our seals and our whatever. And we're swearing our loyalty to this Republic. To use the words of the Declaration of Independence, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And that's what happened. And so that's the restart of the Republic. So states continue to come on board. And by 2012 timeframe, so now it's another 2 years later, roughly about a year and a half, there's pretty much all the states have nearly full representation. Many of the states are fully represented. The counties are coming back online, county assemblies, which is really the core of our government. We, the people, assembling according to the First Amendment. So that's how it's supposed to work. And we are supposed to go to these meetings every month or however often they happen. That's going to happen again, folks. You're going to have to set aside your Saturday morning or whatever once a month in order to run your government. Otherwise, the same thing's going to happen all over again. And so they were successful. They also signed something called a Proclamation of Claim and Interest. And that was what it sounds like, that they're reclaiming all the stuff that was taken from us. So all the land, all the water, all the resources, all the air, all the space, everything down to the center of the earth, everything up to eternity. It's like, this is what our America is, and that's what we are holding in trust for the American people if they want it back, when they want it back. So we've been here since 2010, but everyone goes, well, I haven't heard anything about you. Oh, well, here comes the twist to the story.
Yeah.
We became dangerous to the bad guys. Of course, they had to notice the 50 governors and tell them, hey, the Republic is back, and we need you to sign on board, or step aside. They did nothing, not even answered nothing. And so the Republic proceeded with what they were doing. Elected a president, probably could imagine, James Timothy Turner was the first president elected in that November of 2010 Continental Congress. Very similar to how Washington was picked. And we've been running ever since 2012, August, maybe summer of 2012. The Republic was growing so rapidly that millions and millions of people were coming on board, joining, settling counties, noticing the county commissioners and whatever, and saying, the Republic is here, you guys. And so what happened was, well, first, an assassination attempt on James Timothy Turner. And I just found out the details of this and got permission to share in the past couple of weeks. And that is, it was George Bush Sr., first Bush president, that put a $25 million hit out on James Timothy Turner with 6 mercenaries who were coming after him. We know this only because the good guy military took care of it after the incident. He escaped, no problem. And then they took care of it. We don't need to know anything else, right? They took care of it. Then like a month or so later, he gets a call from the corporate FBI. Okay, so what we would consider the bad guys, but he had already been having meetings and conversations with them, cordial ones, like, oh, okay, well, eventually you're going to be our boss and all this, and said, well, we need to have a meeting. And so he went to the meeting, and no problem. And they said, well, you're under arrest. Like, he's laughing. What, for what? And then they said, no, serious, you're under arrest. And he's like, okay. So it was total kangaroo court, made up charges, like IRS fraud, bond fraud, whatever they, kitchen sink, whatever they wanted to throw into this thing after the fact. Of course, they didn't have it, I don't think, ready to go. And then tried him. So he's arrested September of 2012, tried March of 2013. That's how long he's in prison. And he proves himself innocent of all the things, of course, because he hasn't done any of it. And he's quoting all their own UCCs to say, according to your own UCC, this is how you commit the crime, and I haven't done any of that, and I can prove it. So he does. He proves himself innocent, and at the very end, the judge says, no, you're still guilty. And he goes, why? He says, well, for the potential to commit a future crime.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, and how we know this is because there were actually witnesses there from the Republic supporting Tim, in the audience or whatever you call it. So right. In the courtroom. So now the judge, of course, this is a setup from the very beginning, gets the transcripts, erases all of Tim's testimony and says he had nothing to say, and therefore he's guilty of all these crimes. And then if you go on the CIA's Wikipedia website, guys, Wikipedia is CIA. So stop donating, please. Yeah. And so they say in there, oh, and he committed this crime and that crime, and he's a dangerous, domestic terrorist. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. He's the kindest, gentlest guy you've ever met. Just, he'll walk past a homeless guy and give the jacket he's got on it. I mean, he's just the kind of guy. So 20 years, I think, is what he got for a sentence or something like that. So he's, this is paper crime, right? IRS, et cetera. So he should have been in like the federal prison spas, the nice ones. No. They put him in with the international terrorists, the domestic terrorists, the violent criminals, hoping that he would get killed while in prison. Well, he doesn't.
Please tell this story. I'm going to let you have.
He doesn't quite get killed or anything, and thank God, because God has a different plan. And that is, he converted a lot of the people in the prison to Christianity. So God had an assignment for him to save these people, and that's what he did. So now he's, we roll forward to about early 2023, and his health is declining, and he applies for the CARES Act, which is the, when you have serious health problems, essentially you're sent home under house arrest in order to die.
Compassionate release on parole because you have a fatal illness, whatever that looks like.
Correct. And so he was having some serious illnesses, and so they did that. So he went home with the ankle bracelet and the whole 9 yards. And but then, of course, God has a different plan, and he got better. As a Monty Python goes, I got better. And so he's still perfectly fine with us. But when we didn't have a president, we had to have someone else. And so through the line of succession, by the way, this was all infiltration by the 3-letter agencies. So your FBI, CIA, ATF, IRS, whoever else they wanted to throw at us. These are professional infiltrators. Were sent in and took us down. So they started, doing the saber rattling. Okay, we're going to arrest all of you people in the Republic, for being dangerous criminals and all that. So everyone ran. In the trial for Tim Turner, they said there were 22 million followers of the Republic at the time. And as everyone ran, we were down to a couple hundred at most by the time they were finished. So didn't quite take down the Republic, but a remnant did remain to keep us going. And the shadow banning. So our president had to be the, at the time, president of the Senate in the Republic, was, in the line of succession. So James Buchanan Geiger has been our president ever since. So he's still the president because we can't have any elections because we don't have a quorum of states, or didn't. So now, fast forward to May of 2024. So I'm still outreach coordinator. I'm still doing videos and podcasts when they come up and whatever. Can't share the links. You lose your channels and all that kind of stuff if that happened. So can't get the word out. Intense shadow banning. And then Trump's trial in May of 24, last year, something changed. And suddenly our message started to get out, and suddenly we got volunteers. We think it was also because people were ready to hear it. And it rang true with them. They could hear the truth in the words. And so now they start coming back in droves, and dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. That led to more podcasts and more podcasts. And then eventually SGT Report, SG Anon, Scott McKay, those kinds of folks, and thousands more people come in. So from 100 or so, probably in May of 2024, till right before the election, I thought this was an interesting coincidence. The weekend before November 5th, so like November 3rd, our website passed 10,000 members from 100, only 5-6 months earlier. So that's all God's hand for sure. We were filling the governor's seats and all the other seats, those 8 I was telling you about with the Northwest Ordinance. And now we have over half of the states completely reseated at the state level. These 8 seats are all filled with volunteers. These are just normal people. So your normal listeners, we've got, retired teachers, CPAs, medical workers, healthcare. Now they're doing like natural health, a lot of chiropractors, which I think is pretty cool. But no bar attorneys, no high-ranking previous corporate people. Like we would never accept a governor of something or the mayor of something because there's just too much risk of them having been turned, either through threats or through money and bribes or combination or, whatever. So these seats are completely interim. That means temporary. That means we're only holding the seats until we can hold an actual republic election, because there has been no actual republic election since 1871. We haven't had a republic. So how can we have a republic election? So every president since then that's taken office has been the CEO of the USA Incorporated. All of them know it as well. And all the governors know it as well. You can go on Dun & Bradstreet and you can look up each and every one of these corporations. State of Florida, DeSantis knows he's the CEO. The state of Texas, Abbott, he knows he's CEO. And then the states actually went all the way down to the county level. And so now the counties are, County of Smith Incorporated, County of Jefferson Incorporated. Every single state, every single county, 3,143, I think, counties, parishes, and boroughs, depending on what state you're in. So that's the situation. And that's what we have to reseat. And so we are running in parallel right now. So you have this, I call it the fake corporate crime syndicate that's acting like our government and has zero governmental authority whatsoever. No one's actually elected because all elections are stolen. And then you've got the Republic, which is the actual, authentic, lawful constitutional government of the United States. Zero money, zero power, zero military. Waiting, because that's what the good guy military told us our job was. We are here on the sidelines, waiting for the coach to call us in and be the team on the field. Because right now we've got a fake team out there. And as soon as that fake team is discovered by the American people and removed by the military, we have nothing to do with it. We are sitting here waiting for our turn. As soon as we hold those elections, the actual republic elections, paper only, zero machines, they're gone. And we're going to have a very, very nice bonfire. And it's going to be a handoff, so whoever gets actually elected to governor of Texas in the republic, I step out happily, gladly. Please come soon, because I don't want to have this job.
Come save me.
I am not running for office unless God puts that on me. I'm like, oh, really? Seriously? After all I just did for you, you want me to do this again?
Right.
So that's what we're all doing. We are all holding the positions. We are all filling the other positions, vetting them, appointing them, giving them the oaths of office, signing the paperwork, doing all the things that we would need to do according to the Constitution to hold these offices lawfully until we can get an actual republic election. So there's no way, and I'm not against Trump in any way, shape, or form, so don't misinterpret this, but he has only been ever elected in a corporate election, certified by a corporate Congress and a corporate electoral college. He can only be CEO. And that's okay. Because right now, we need to take down the corporation. What do you think one of his first things is going to be? Is probably, and I'll see, I have a side note on that one. Let me get to that one in a second.
Okay.
He's going to take the corporation down during this term. Well, then who's going to be the government? Oh, it would be the one that's been sitting here waiting for our orders to be stood up. So that's what we're all about. And that's how anyone can get involved, and they can go to our website. You already showed one of them. That's actually the original one. We have a newer one, which is where we actually send people. And it's we've got a shortcut address. So you don't have to type in the super long address. It's republic4usa.org. So that's the word for. So republic, FORUSA.org. And there's a tab there that says register. We apologize. We can't think of a non-legal. Remember, there's legal and there's lawful. Legal is corporate, maritime, corrupt courts, system. And then lawful is law, constitution, biblical law, common law. It's the stuff we should be following, the law of people. So that's the story.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Which, as a former military person, you would be able to answer this, I think, with experience and knowledge. For the past 4 years, everybody's been, well, not everybody, Derek Johnson for one, and people have been using his substance to state that Trump is still the commander in chief
of the corporate military. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I've had the discussion with Derek.
My point is, I have not yet to see a uniformed military personnel officer, whatever, salute Trump in the last 4 years. Think about that.
I have.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. And he salutes them back.
Well, of course he does. He's very amenable like that.
Well, how many former presidents have ever done that? I don't think any.
I don't know. He really respects the military, and he understands their power and might.
Right.
I think.
Well, here's the other thing. We don't know which military is doing these things around him. And we would assume it's the corporate military because he's the corporate commander in chief. But we've got such a mixture of, well, Jeffrey Prather says this best. He says there's good guys, good bad guys, bad good guys, and bad guys. Which one are we talking about? And if there's only 4 categories, we don't know. And so there's going to be the good military, which I believe is this retired generals and the retired other folks, special forces, former special forces. They're not going to be active duty. Although I think there's probably a few active duty folks, like I want to say like liaisons, that kind of know what's going on in the real world and can tell the good guys what's going on. And then you've got the super bad guys that are the ones that ran the entire COVID thing, because that was the DOD with DARPA and BARDA and the rest of it. And that's totally proven. We've seen the actual documents, whistleblowers, et cetera. That's Dr. Sasha Latipova and Dr. I just blanked on her name. They work together. They're excellent team. Both researchers. Of course, Dr. David Martin, brilliant, all over the patents, that this has been planned since at least the 1960s. He can find the patents all the way back because he's a patent expert. And he's also an expert in bioweapons treaties. What a combination. You got to have him on if you've never had him on. He's incredible.
Never heard of him, but yes, I'd love that.
Yep. So if you remember the Dr. Judy Mikovits, oh, no, I'm going to get you. You're going to get you kicked off now by saying her name. She did the first pandemic documentary. It was like 15 minutes long. It was like May of 2020-ish. And the second one was Dr. David Martin. So if you look up Plandemic 1, Plandemic 2, you're going to find both of them. They're fabulous people.
Okay.
Patriots. So anyway, so that's the story of the Republic. That's what we're all about. Register. Again, you go to the website. We're sorry, we can't think of a different word. Sign up. Sign up is another legal term. So it's like, what do you put in there? So everyone knows what we're trying to say.
Apply.
Well, there you go. Except there's no approval. Like you're in.
Well, you're applying yourself.
Yeah, you're registering. Well, it's I guess you could say that your support, like commit your support, or see, commit is even illegal. It's like we can't come up with it. So it's like register. No, everyone knows what that means.
They have totally screwed the English language.
And we're going to take it back. That's part of our proclamation of claim and interest, is taking back our language. And there'll be some folks on here that are very, very educated and learned, and they've been studying this for years. And they're going to say, it's not Constitution of the United States. It's Constitution for the United States. It's like, yes, but even the states back in the 1790s, 1800s was calling it Constitution of, after it was ratified. So, we're just going to take it all back. It doesn't matter if you say after the Republic is established. It's not Constitution of, Constitution for, Republic of, Republic for, United capitalized, United not capitalized, etc. It's all going back to us. So there's not going to be any mixed meanings anymore. We're going to reclaim all of it.
Can we just call it the United States of America Constitution and leave out all the conjoining words like or, of?
Yeah, well, see, when you read the actual preamble to the Constitution, it says Constitution for the United States of America.
Yeah.
But that was before it was ratified. So then it's for the United States because it hasn't been ratified. Once it's ratified, now it's of the United States. That's what we think is probably what they intended when they did that with the words.
Right.
But then when they changed it to all caps, that's when they got everybody. So, because there was never a title across the top of it, but yet you look up every, like the little booklets and stuff you can get, and on the cover page in all caps, Constitution of the United States. That's never been part of our Constitution. It doesn't have a title. It is just the document. So, and its whole purpose, number one, is to set up the government. We, the people, are the government. But Sandy Miarecki can't go to the Prime Minister of France and say, let's make a treaty. Right? So I have to give up a little bit of my rights to the state, which then gives up a little bit of their rights to the national level government to do some of these things on our behalf. Trade agreements, treaties, peace treaties, whatever, right? Protecting the international waters so we don't get invaded. That's their freaking number one job. To stop us from being invaded. Well, hello, let's just throw that one out because they don't have to follow the Constitution. It's optional when it's a corporation. Explains a lot of things of what we've been seeing in the last.
Well, they have their own corporate bylaws.
Yep.
So are those.
Well, and those are even optional. Everything's optional to them. It's a guideline.
Yeah, exactly. So
Exactly
what you're talking about. You have this dictionary,
right?
Okay, which I actually brought out of prison because it's.
Do you have the 1828 version?
No, this is 1982, the last copyright for this issue. Noah Webster's. 1828. Okay.
The original.
I'll go score
That's
one of
the
those.
one you want to have a paper copy of.
Well, I got this one because this one gives you multiple definitions, etymology, Also
Well, the reason
gives
why this one is so good is because what Noah Webster did was they were already seeing this changing of the words by the bar attorneys, Jesuits and Masons. That's who's taken us down. Yep. And so,
different.
so Noah took it upon himself to put down, this is what the words mean. This is what us, the founding fathers, what we think, what we say these words mean. When we write down the word people, this is what it means.
Right.
And so, and, you know, we write the word constitution, this is what it means. And so then you've got all these, you know, corrupt, fraudulent criminals that are trying to take down America. And I just told you the three major groups: Masons, Jesuits, and bar attorneys. I bet your audience may or may not know that we actually have another 13th Amendment. The original 13th Amendment. And that one is called the Titles of Nobility Amendment. And then why did we need one? Well, we had a thing that said thou shalt have no titles of nobility in the Constitution, but there was no penalty. And so they were having all these bar attorneys taking on Esquire and all this stuff, and they're taking down the country. They're watching this happen in the early 1800s already. And so they proposed this amendment several times, and finally it passed Congress and went to the states for ratification. It was ratified by Virginia in 1819. No one can argue that because of all the evidence that they have now in the paperwork. So it says, you shall not have any title of nobility or any other honor or gift or whatever from a foreign power without explicitly being approved by Congress. Never approved by Congress. And even if it was, I don't think it would have been lawful, you know, anyway. But anyway, so we'll put that aside. So it's in, I think I got 26 different constitutions from the time frame 1819, including the original Virginia Constitution, where they were the first ones to put it in, this new amendment, the 13th Amendment, all the way to 1876. Like I think it was Wyoming or something, their constitution has it in there. And then they started just removing it with no, what's the word? No process, no de-ratification, no vote, no nothing, you know? And that's because the penalty is you lose your citizenship and you can never hold any public office. How many bar attorneys do we have in our government right now?
Almost all of them.
At least a third, if not a half. I mean,
I would say a half.
We've all been tricked into thinking you have to be a bar attorney in order to run for these offices, right?
And how many bar attorneys have, you know, like gone to law school, got their degree, never practiced law, or they did it sporadically. Now they are mainstream media hosts.
Either that or they never even took a constitution class. Or maybe they did like one lesson in one semester at best. You know, so they don't even know the Constitution, most of them.
Yeah.
Oh, and Hillsdale College, hillsdale.edu, Constitution 101 course. Everyone needs to go take it. Go take it. Hillsdale College, Constitution 101. Awesome course. It's a great start.
Hillsdale.edu. All right. That is in the chat.
I think it might be hillsdale.edu or hillsdalecollege.edu. I forget now which one it is.
Okay.
But if you just put that into any of the search engines, even the corrupt ones like Google, et cetera, you can still find it. Yeah.
Okay. How is this going to affect the indigenous Native Americans?
So they are independent nations by law. And they've had treaties with the Republic before 1871, before the Civil War, before, right? And they have been trounced on, raped and pillaged by this stupid cabal government. We're going to have to fix it. I don't know how. That is way beyond me. You know, I'm just a dumb test pilot. I don't know. So who's,
Here, you tell it.
But it is going to be fixed. We've already started conversations with the leadership of several of the tribes. We've even had some conversations with Canadian tribes that have reached out. So this is not I don't know how people can say, oh, that's just another organization. It's like, hello, we've got other countries reaching out to us. We've got the people of other countries saying, we want to do the same thing in our country. I'm like, oh, we can only do one country at a time. we're struggling just to get America back under control. As soon as we do, we're going to come and help.
Perfect segue, because you didn't cover it, and I was hoping you were going to cover it. Please tell us the story about Tim Turner's incarceration. You alluded to that he was put on these specific units where the majority of the inmates in that facility are from other countries. Yeah,
and violent.
Yeah, and the worst of the worst.
Right.
Muslims, and then you got different factions of Islam.
Right.
The Sunnis and the Shias that don't get along.
So who did he get friends with? So the inmates kind of take care of each other, right? So the inmates will do their own barbershop, yoga instructor, whatever it is, just so that they've got something to do, right? Because otherwise,
that's their hustle.
Yes, if that's what's called. I don't know. I've never been, so I can't tell you. I hope I never am. But you know what? If that's where God does, and that's what God does, I'll just do my best.
I was a writ writer. That was my hustle. Jailhouse.
There you go. Yeah. So there've been people, interesting people that have been either the roommates, the cellmates of Tim Turner, or in this case, the story of Brittany Griner. Do you remember this so-called basketball player that was, stupidly brought marijuana to Russia and got arrested? And so now they're trying to get her back. And we're like, why? Sorry, but anyway, so we ended up trading the Merchant of Death, I think was his nickname. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but this is the Russian arms dealer that we had in our prison system. Happened to have been in the prison that Tim was in at the time, and he was the yoga instructor. So Brittany gets traded for the arms dealer. Well, Tim and this guy, had long conversations about the Republic, about Christ. And he goes back to Russia. What do you think the first thing he did was? I think he probably had a meeting with Putin and told Putin all about us. And this was, what year was that? 2018, 19? Was it that long ago or less? When was the trade? I can't read it. You're not on. I can't hear you. Let me see if I can make it bigger.
There you go.
There you are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what year was that trade?
2022.
Oh my gosh. See, to me, it feels like 6 years have gone by.
Doesn't it?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so
we still have six more days of hell.
I know. I keep saying, we just have to hang on for 6 more days. We've hung on this long. Just hang on for 6 more days, and then we can figure out what to do from there if Trump backs out of what he's supposed to do. I don't think he's gonna. Right. So anyway, so that was Tim Turner's yoga instructor. And he's got other stories like this of people that he met and didn't know them from anyone, but the barber or the whatever. And it was just like pretty incredible stuff. So yeah.
That is
that's God.
That's amazing. Yeah. There's no other words around that. Even you and I coming in contact, because I've had your information for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I believe, probably last spring, Mickey Clan was like, hey, talk to Dr. Miarecki. And, I was like, I don't know if I'm there yet with all of that, with the assemblies and stuff.
Right.
I've really been on the fence about the assemblies because they all want to divide themselves. And like, you can't go be part of that group because you did this paperwork over in this group. And
right. We're fighting the same thing because a lot of these assemblies are already formed and have done a lot of the paperwork. Now, some's not correct, that they accidentally put themselves back in water jurisdiction instead of land jurisdiction, which is what the whole process is supposed to do. So there would be some amendments, some changes to their paperwork, but otherwise they can join the Republic. They just need to reach out to us. According to that website, they can register and send us messages and say, I'm in fill in the blank state, I'm in fill in the blank county. We've already used this process to settle our assembly. We'd love to talk to you or the governor about how do we join the Republic. And we'll set that up. It's that simple.
So regardless of what they've done with their entity, General Assembly, whatever, there's no stipulations, terms and conditions or anything to come join your entity, the re-inhabited.
Like I said, we just have to make sure that they are constitutional and back on the land, the law of land, not the law of water, which is the corporate maritime jurisdiction. So that's it. That's, we just have to, look at their paperwork and go, yep, this looks fine. Or, ooh, this one paragraph. Can you guys do an amendment that changes that one paragraph to say maybe something like this? And they have to decide. We can't tell them what to do. And then they decide or not decide. And they go, oh yeah, that's right. You're right. That is wrong. And so they can fix it and welcome to the Republic.
Define constitutional.
Well, there's only like 19 things that the Constitution says that we, the people, give to the state or national level of government. And so you're going to follow, especially the Bill of Rights, because the right to assemble comes from there. But we are the whole government. And the Constitution is just that little tiny bit that we're handing off to a group of individuals that we elect. And so that's where constitutional comes from. Now, one of the things that I always like to point out is that after we had the Declaration of Sovereign Intent in November of 2010 and the Proclamation of Claim and Interest in April, I believe, of 2012, some of our retired military members in the Republic brought these documents to some, somehow they found out who some of the retired generals were that are in this group and brought
the alphabet agencies.
No, the Army of Virginia folks, the retired generals from the 60s that have been the good guys this whole time trying to fix things.
Okay.
And so two of our members figured out who some of these were, brought the documents to them. They called in their entire staffs and for several hours, line by line, word by word, went through these documents. And at the very end concluded that the Republic had done everything 100% lawfully and constitutionally, and that this was the authentic government of the United States of America.
Wow.
And that's why Trump reached out in 2016 while he's running for office to President Geiger of the Republic and said we should have a meeting. And they then talked about it, and it's like, okay, really dangerous for you, Mr. Trump. If somebody were to find out, one of the bad guys would have find out about this, and it's like, oh, this anti-government terrorist group, that Trump is associating with, or whatever they would have done with it.
Right.
And then we only have like 100 or so members, barely holding down probably 8 states with some representation. Would they have finished us off? Probably. They would have done something, to try to take us down. So it was decided at that point not to have that meeting, but to have it in a future date. Well, what happened right after he took office? He won the election, of course, in 2016, took office 2017, and then all hell breaks loose for his entire 4 years. So never had the opportunity to have that meeting. We are anticipating a phone call anytime now. And we will fly wherever he needs us to go and have this meeting with him. So we really hope he doesn't say Demon City. We don't want to go to DC. But
right.
If we have to, we have to. We'll probably meet outside somewhere like Virginia,
Or Tyler, Texas, where the Treasury is supposed to be.
Let's just pull. Yes, let's make him come to us. He's got nice airplanes, So
he does. Well, actually, you could do it on the airplane.
We could.
pick you up
Yeah,
and
come get us and just sit on the tarmac even, and just have the meeting
Right.
inside. So that's
absolutely.
what we're waiting for. And we just think it's just a couple of days now before we have open dialogue, because it's just been, he can't have a dialogue with us until he's actually sworn in. Okay, let me throw this one at you. There are some theories that the 19th, this rally on the 19th, the day before the inauguration, is where he's going to announce he's not taking the inauguration. He's not taking on CEO of the corporation. Okay, then what? We don't have a government? That's us. Is he going to call us up on the 20th? I mean, I don't know. We have to be ready for that, right? We've been trying to get everyone appointed, spun up, et cetera, take their oath before that date, just in case. But here's a little factoid, something I was thinking about just over the weekend. If he dissolves the corporation, like we know he's going to, it's just a matter of what timeline, do all of his previous executive orders in the corporation become null and void because the corporation is gone? Well, he's not going to do that, because there's some of them in there that say, if you interfere with our election, we are confiscating your assets. He's not going to give that up. That's actually one of the most powerful things about the executive orders that he passed, were that there's a lot of these, because these kinds of executive orders, an actual executive order in the Republic is like ceremonial, like we're going to fly the flags at half staff for this special Memorial Day event. That's all an executive order is really for. Or specifically military, especially during times of emergency, like we're going to change the uniform because of this reason. Or for example, when it was the Army and the Army Air Corps during World War II, and then they said, no, we're going to have a separate Army and a separate Air Force. That would be something he could do with an executive order. Or create Space Force. That would be something he could do with an executive order. But everything else, I don't see how he can dissolve the corporation before he's going to have to like throw 100 new executive orders out there on the first day.
Oh, I would assume it's going to be more than that.
I'm just saying, so yeah. Under what authority? Well, he's got to be under the corporation, because a republic, he was never elected into a republic. He's only had a corporate election. So there's all kinds of things in here when you really boil it down to what's the baseline. So I think he's going to keep the corporation for a few days to a few weeks, maybe a month, until he can do all the things he needs to do. And then he's going to dissolve everything, because probably on paper, at least, it's gone. And so as the CEO, what do you do as you're bankrupting your company? Well, the last thing you do is you close the door and you lock it and you hand the keys to the bank or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That hasn't happened yet, I don't think, because there's these executive orders that still need to be done. So I want to just throw that out there for your viewers to think about, because I thought about that this weekend and I go, I think he's going to hang on to that corporation for a little while, and we shouldn't panic too much, because I think it's for the executive orders. I think he needs to have them take effect for a while. So we'll see what happens. We got 6 days to think about it.
Right. Well, they have a 100-day plan is what their goal is.
Right.
So, we could be looking, somewhere around May 1st.
And that's about 100 days, because Memorial Day, and he's dropped this clue too. So now that we're talking about hypotheticals, he dropped the clue that there's going to be new elections before Memorial Day. There's no elections before Memorial Day. What is he talking about? In a rally, he said this. And so then, okay, let's do some math. The Friday before Memorial Day Monday is like day 141 of the year. Well, then take away 120 days.
145 days.
Well, Nasara Jasara requires a 120-day election if we follow Nasara Jasara. We don't know that for sure either.
From the 20th would be 125.
Right.
I'm looking at a big yearly
calendar. I'm like,
that's got the dates back and forth.
So it comes out to be like January 21st.
Okay.
is day 0 of 120 days to have an election before Memorial Day.
That's 125 days. That's within the parameters. Absolutely.
So
Wow.
it's an interesting coincidence. The other thing is, so the election itself would be the Friday before the Monday of Memorial Day weekend, potentially, since it's a holiday. Or we'd have the election on Memorial Day because everyone's typically off anyway. Okay, so then what happens? Well, we've got the whole process. So now the states have to certify. Of course, it's the Republic certifying it if it's us standing up. Our people are the ones that are running the election and certifying the election. And then a couple of weeks for recounts and, whatever else has to happen. Then the Electoral College has to meet Congress and has to approve the, verify, validate, whatever the word is, I can never remember. And then taking office maybe 4th of July. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a really nice little plan, doesn't it? With all the dates lining up and everything, but.
May 20th is a Tuesday. The following Monday on the 26th is Memorial Day.
Right.
Generally, people go on vacation for Memorial Day, so I don't see Monday would being an apt voting day. But however, May 20th,
Friday before would be.
Well, traditionally we vote on Tuesdays.
I know.
And that's the 120th day, January 20th. Coincidentally.
Coincidentally. Yeah. If you're into gematria, no. I know. So I'm just throwing these ideas out there because, like I said, we don't, no one gave us a little checklist of the plan from Trump and the good guy military, right? They've intentionally kept us out of the spotlight, I think, to protect us while we rebuild. And we're just about there. We just about have the full quorum of what we need in order to be the government, the republic, lawfully and authentically. So we're real close.
And I'm going to tell you folks out there, and I've been saying this over and over and over. If you want to change how things are, you have to get involved.
You have to do it yourself.
Yes, you have. You don't wait for some white hat to come save your ass or come change things for you.
Otherwise, your kids are going to be doing this and your grandkids are going to be doing this, and it'll be harder because they'll be stronger. This is the time to get rid of these people. We got to work together.
Yeah, this is, I think, the perfect time to get rid of these folks.
Yep.
Now, you alluded to something which I would hopefully think that you would have a lot of knowledge about. Space Force.
So I don't have a whole lot of knowledge other than knowing what Air Force, especially assets, were moved over there. I do know that the Air Force Academy, while I was there, they started to swear in the first space cadets, which I think is so funny. Air Force cadets and space cadets. Anyways, I'm not making fun of them. I just think it's an interesting coincidence.
Yeah, you can't make that up.
No. And so, but, very hardworking people, Air Force people that apply to be now Space Force people. I know a couple of folks that have done that. The assets that primarily moved over was what you would expect. So the intelligence, the communications, surveillance, all the stuff like making sure nukes don't start coming over the North Pole from Russia and, all that kind of stuff. So you kind of pray they're the good guys because it's a brand new force. But the people came from the old corrupt, militaries. So I don't know. When Trump actually created the Space Force, I said, he did what? Are we expecting an alien invasion? I mean, why would you have a Space Force? And then just come to realize that he's probably using that as a tool in this whole plan. Just, I'm not in the inside, so I don't know what that plan is. But so, yeah, I just know the basics about, from watching it occur as it's in real time. I'm, at the Air Force Academy watching it. So But the part that has me concerned is the directed energy weapons that are coming from space or from high altitude platforms, aircraft that are starting these fires. I mean, we know that for sure. Maui, Boulder, was it Palisades? What's the fire in the
Paradise.
Paradise, right? And now this one, you know, the one that just burnt down almost the entire LA basin. But trees are totally fine. And those blue trash cans, they're all perfectly fine. Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yet the aluminum wheels on the cars are molten.
Melted. Yeah. The melted aluminum wheels, but blue plastic is fine. So yeah. So these are these things where, you know, the little question marks are like, boop, I don't know what that's all about, but that's not normal. Right. And so that's the, you know, they call us conspiracy theorists. We're pay attentionists. I'm just saying, you know, like
researchers.
The pictures of, you know, the Biden from Vice President Biden to Obama and the pictures of the guy they got now. It's like, it's not the same guy. In fact, I was just looking at, because of the flags that are being set up behind, you know, on the Capitol for the inauguration, the big ones that are hanging up in the pillars, you know, and I'm wondering, why is it, how many stars and why and all that? And so I was like, well, what was it in the previous one? So I start flipping back to the Getty images of the inaugurations in the past and how many stars were there at the time and all. And there was pictures of Vice President Biden. It is nothing like the guy that's out there now because they forgot to change those pictures. They forgot to take those down. So, you know, the real Vice President Biden always looked like a mafioso. You know, it's like, who is that guy? You know, he just looks bad. And then this one looks like the younger brother. Well, there's three of them at least, you know, that are walking around. What is it? A 5'10", a 6'2", and I don't know. They're all different, right? Jill has to change the height of her shoes in order to make herself the right, you know, if that's even still right. Jill. I think we've got a couple of Trumps running around too. So yeah, it's that's pay attention.
We definitely. Well, I know for a fact that he has doubles. Yeah, I did a video on that regarding his appearance at the UFC with Kid Rock, Tucker Carlson, and Dana White, where if you watch Trump getting in the vehicle, Dana White's standing next to him, and Dana White's, you know, 5'10" and a half, maybe. Trump 6'4", 6'3" and a half, and they're the same height.
Right.
So obviously, there's a double. I was informed at Chris Eric's El Magador jacket signing with Juan O'Savin by, was it -48 or Chris? Somebody there told me that they have a friend whose son is one of Trump's doubles, and he's only 6'2", so he's not quite Trump's height.
Close.
So he has to wear a platform. Yeah, you know, close enough.
Wow.
So
that's interesting that would even get out. You would think that, you know, the family would be in big trouble for letting that out.
That's kind of like the inside community, and you know who -48 is, right? Michael Propson. When I first met him, I went to that event, and I didn't know anybody there, nobody, and it was in Plano, Texas, and I went there specifically to infiltrate myself into the MAGA, QAnon, those folks. I wanted to meet them. I wasn't necessarily there to meet Juan O'Savin, but when I got there, I knew who Chris Eric's was. I knew who everybody else was, all the, you know, infamous people, but they didn't know who I was. So I just went in and sat against the wall on a bar stool, kind of in the middle, and, you know, just checking things out. Yeah. And this guy walks up to me with his phone, and, you know, an hour later, I'm like, you know, okay. And he keeps pushing people away. So after 2 hours, I'm like, man, I kind of pee, you know, where's this going? You know, what is this? And I was like, man, I'm just going to hang out for a little bit more and, you know, see where this goes. And then all of a sudden I'm surrounded by women sitting in chairs around us. I'm looking at his phone and looking at him trying to keep up. He's going so fast. And then I look down at all the women. I'm like, holy shit, I'm in the right place. So I'm just going to sit here and ride this out. I got a 5-hour tutorial on gematria from -48. Just me personally.
Yeah.
And the next day, well, that night, when I posted it on social media, everybody's sending me, oh, he's a womanizer. He preys upon women and blah, 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 this. And Wano saving some guy in a fat suit. And I'm like, okay, well, when I go back tomorrow, I will observe all this intently and up close. So while I'm walking around and, doing my thing, Wano Saban's walking around. He's doing interviews with Nino Rodriguez.
Right.
And so I'm sitting here watching him. And I'm looking at this guy. He's wearing a T-shirt underneath, a collared dress shirt, an El Magador jacket, a brown felt hat, jeans, boots, belt buckle, belt, the whole Western garb. All day. He from, I think it started at 1 p.m. He went till 3:30 in the morning, nonstop. Me and Mel Morano were his last interviews at 3:30 in the morning. We all walked out of the Willow Bend Mall in Plano, Texas together. Me, Chris Eriks, Wano Saban, and the two gallery owners and Mel Morano. But during that, I watched -48, and he could have had any woman there he wanted to. And you know how that is. All they have to do is go take them somewhere else and take care of their business and come back out and everybody's smiling and happy.
Right.
Nope. Not once did he do anything towards a female like that. Yeah, nothing. Stellar. And because we became buddies, we sat on a couch, a little love seat, and we had a very intimate, personal conversation. He was telling me things, and I'm like, that's the most insane stuff I think I've ever heard. And he was telling me about the Rolling Stones concert, I believe it was in October or November in Dallas that prior year. He went to it, and the Rolling Stones weren't the Rolling Stones. They were Elvis, Prince, who else did he say? All these dead people. Right. And he's telling me just like story after story after story after, and I'm just like, oh my God, does he believe this, or is this true? Marilyn Monroe's alive, Bruce Lee's alive, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, just this laundry.
I've seen the list.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. But in that's how I tried to get the communities to harmonize, because I came over from the ANA's American States Assembly, so I knew of those. I knew the sovereign citizens, American State Nationals, and all these people doing the private process. So I was like, okay, everybody wants to go to the same place. So why aren't we all on the same road going to the same place? Why are we all taking our separate paths, trying to get to the same place?
Ego. And money. Because this republic, there's no fee, there's no membership, there's no nothing. Because this is the government. So if anyone makes you pay anything, that's not real. I'm just saying.
Exactly. Yeah, my sentiments exactly. Same thing for like.
And then you look at who the leadership is. The leadership is a bar attorney. There's a problem. If it's a 501c3 or 501c4, there's another big problem. Because what does that mean? It's a nonprofit corporation.
Yep.
Tell me how a corporation can form a government. No. That's why we don't even have an IRS status as a republic. We are other, because we don't, there is no IRS in the republic. Everyone gets every dollar of their taxes back because it's all in your trust. The IRS will be kept around just long enough to compute every dollar you've ever paid in taxes, plus every dollar your ancestors ever paid in taxes and their ancestors all the way back. And that all has to go into the trust. And then somehow we figure out a payment plan or something, because I'm not, we're not going to say, okay, everyone, you just all of a sudden have $300 million.
I want you I want you to think about the logistics of what you just said.
I know.
Because if you go back to your ancestors and then, okay, I come from a family with 3 kids, and then my father came from a family of 8 kids, and my mom of 3. How does that get divested, separated? They have to go look in, to the wills and all these archives. That's quite the undertaking.
Yep. But the Federal Reserve and the IRS are going to have to undo everything that they did. And that's not, they're not going to be allowed to. And where's the money coming from that they stole from us? From the Federal Reserve people that stole it. And where did it go? Oh, into the pockets of Queen Elizabeth and the Pope and, all the other royal families around the world that are the actual cabal. So they're going to cough it up.
So most of that is hypothecated fiat currency.
Well, let's say the value,
Okay.
that I am personally not going to want them to give me $1, in dollars. I'm going to say, well, lawful money is silver and gold.
And the Coinage Act of 1964 eradicated that. Thank you, LBJ.
Right. So, yeah. By the way, when you buy those coins, if you can buy like pre-1964 coins to be, trade as silver, it's the same price as if you were to buy a pure 99.9% gold or silver coin, silver coin, because it's only silver. I did the math on that. I said, oh, maybe it's cheaper. Well, no, because it's only like 80% of the coin is actual silver.
90.
Whatever the number is. And then you how much does it weigh? And then you take the 90% of that and then multiply that by the price of silver. And then you do, I get a roll of those coins. It's the same price as if you just went and bought one of the cheaper versions of the silver coins or the silver bars.
Right.
It's no better. But it's in a little package that can be used for, this is worth $5 right now. And so you can buy a dozen eggs or whatever with it, for a quarter. So
I'm putting a link to Coinflation in the description. All you got to do is just go on that website and say, okay, what's the value of a 1954 quarter? And it'll give you all the contents of the metals and tell you exactly what the melt values for each one of those metals and as a whole. So go check that out if y'all want to know what that's all about. All right. Talking to the other assemblies that are in existence, Anna, Destry Payne, all the Jural assemblies, Scott McKay's Patriot Street Fighter Consortium, whatever that looks like. What can you tell them to get their attention and their comprehension that you're in a good place with good people trying to do the right thing? However, you're not going to get anywhere because you're utilizing a bad pathway.
Well, it's a pathway that doesn't go anywhere. Kind of, you're creating county assembly islands. But what is the structure that you're supposed to connect to? That's the republic. You're doing all what you're doing is because you're setting up the county assembly like the Constitution and all of our founding documents say, is that we the people are the government. So the only thing that's missing is connect to the republic. How do you do that? Well, you send a copy of your covenants only. We don't need bylaws and bilateral compacts and all that stuff. Whatever you use to establish your county assembly, you send a copy of that to the republic. We take a look at it, make sure you've not said anything silly, like we love maritime jurisdiction and everyone should be a bar attorney or something like that in your covenants. As long as you're constitutional, then that's it. You have just connected your assembly to the republic, and you are promising to represent the people of that county in the republic. So That's it. You don't give up anything except you're connecting to the Republic.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, because a lot of people have issues with this stuff, especially with Anna von Reitz and her paperwork that these different state assemblies require. Some call it the 928 package. It's not uniform across the states. Some are different.
Doesn't have to be. It's up to the county.
Right. So for the people who've done that paperwork, they think that they're kind of contracted to Anna von Reitz or to their state assembly, anything like that. So there's no issue with them rescinding, voiding that membership, and then coming over and volunteering for the Republic of the United States of America, correct?
That I don't know, because I'm not an expert in that particular subject, but we have people that are experts in that subject in the Republic. Two thoughts occurred to me. Either what you just said is true, and there's, quote, no problem with them coming over. But I don't know if what they've done is an actual contract, in which case that might not work. The second option would be to just redo their paperwork in accordance with the Republic, and they just abandon the other one. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. That's something our experts would have to take a look at. But that's why we're saying send in your covenants and we can take a look. So,
all right.
I'm sorry. I knew it was coming. I was trying to make it go away.
Steph Jones asks, who is the president of the Republic?
Currently, it is James Buchanan Geiger, who was the president of the Senate in the Republic in 2012 when James Timothy Turner was arrested. And of course, or kidnapped, I guess is what you would say, because the FBI just kidnapped him. It's a head of state. Arrested by a corporation. It'd be like McDonald's coming in and kidnapping Tim. So that's just the equivalent of what happened. So then line of succession went down to James Geiger. And so that's who's our president right now.
How long has he been president?
Since the day he took over when Tim was arrested. So, well, probably a couple of days, when we were trying to figure out what happened and what's going to, is he coming back? Is he getting out? I mean, so they probably had to go through that. But then because the infiltrators were in a lot of the high ranking positions, because they were really good, they're super professional at doing this kind of thing, right? They're all professionally trained. And then it got down to Jim Geiger, and he said, yeah, of course I'll take it on. That's what God's asking me to do. So and he's been that since roughly September, October. I would say probably October of 2012. So,
are you familiar with the late FBI whistleblower, Ted Gunderson?
I don't know if I know the name. I do know of some of the whistleblowers. It might be, was this the one that was just killed in the parking lot or something like that? Or is this an older one?
This is from the 70s.
Okay. So I probably know of him. I just don't know the name.
He co-authored a book called The 200-Year Plan with Noel Benoist. You may not be familiar with Noel. Noel's former NSA whistleblower with Ted Gunderson. He was also the 13th seat for Majestic 12. Yeah. And he was a man in black. Very interesting man. I just started cracking the 200-year plan open last night. Started reading it for the first time. And I'm very gracious for Noel to give me a copy. And he turned over the rights to the book to me, which, I just can't believe my life. I really can't. So, when I gave the keys to God, every day it's something new, a new blessing, new relationship, new knowledge. So, yeah, I'm very humbled to do this program, and I can't believe I have people that actually listen to what I have to say.
Me neither.
Yeah, well, we have to have a voice, and it has to be somebody. And if it's not us, then who?
Right.
And
well,
I'm sure
it's about time we start speaking truth instead of some of this stuff that even in the so-called patriot community, I don't know. I'm hearing it's now like kind of like pulling the corks out of all these bottles, right? And then all this stuff is coming out now, and and you don't know what's real and what's not, and what's truth and what's not. And you're like, God, I need some discernment here. Could you help me out? And I listen to it. I hear it. It goes into a folder in my brain. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm waiting for when the truth actually comes out, and we'll know what's going on. So, yeah.
All right. I think you've about covered everything. Anything else you want to add?
Well, just one of the things that we always ask, where are the young people? A lot of our Republic folks are retirees, but where are the under 50s, under 40s? We know you're working 2 jobs and all that, but if you're out there and you feel drawn to this, please join, because we would like to have a full representation of all the people. The other thing is that we're in for a rough ride, no matter how this is going to turn out. So you better prepare, have your emergency food supplies and some water, and know what you're going to do if you lose electricity. If the power grid gets taken down by these, invaders that have come across our border freely because of what the corporation did to our borders, just stuff like that. Just think through how you're going to take care of your family, because that's your number one priority. And for those that either don't have families or the families are capable of taking care of themselves, we would love to have you helping us out. So I think that's basically it. This is God's Republic. And we want the folks that are being asked by God to come. Gideon's army, right? So
Absolutely.
We're being chosen. We have no idea why, and we really don't want to be here. But here we are because we're being called. So we have to do it. We want to save our country, and it's not going to be, well, you can do it. No, that's not what God's asking. So
let me ask you this, because you alluded to that you did not want to be the governor of Texas, and I can understand that. Mm-hmm. We are senior citizens, crazily enough to say that. I just have no comprehension about being 62 years old. It just doesn't register. I never expected to live past 30. That's the kind of life I led. I was like, I have no game plan beyond that. I was an idiot, but here we are.
Yep.
What are you going to do after this? What's your
sleep
plan, goal? Sleep, get some rest.
Sleep. I 1:30, 2, 3, sometimes 4 in the morning I'm working, and I've got animals. I've got chickens and sheep, and not a lot, but they have to have their food and get taken care of. And it's a small farm, but there's chores, there's things to do. I still haven't completely unpacked moving here 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So, it's just because the Republic has taken up all of my time. I'm wearing way too many hats. I mean, governor of Texas, outreach coordinator, and there's several others, but
right.
It's just, you just accumulate tasks over time, because each of those jobs comes with more jobs. And so you end up doing a lot more than you anticipated. 6 more days, we get to all find out where this is going to go.
We're going to find out a lot. And in January, we're going to find out a lot.
Absolutely.
Especially about Trump and his nominees.
Yep.
Do you have any reflections on his nominees?
That's another podcast. Not happy.
Okay.
But I'm thinking he's highlighting a lot of the corruption. I think, maybe the controlling agencies and stuff. And it's like, okay, you want to run my election and you want to make sure that I'm elected. All right, then I'm going to put you front and center in this position. Oh, until you make a fool of yourself, and then I have to replace you with someone else. I mean, that's kind of what it looks like, I don't know. So we're hoping that things change, or who knows? Nothing makes sense anymore, as you well know, and so we're just station keeping for right now, trying to figure out, in this crazy world. We know we still have bad guys, because we still have people dying. Who was it that just passed away? one of the doctors had he's like total natural medicine kind of doctor, and he was pancreatic cancer or brain cancer or whatever. Rashid Buttar was one. I think he died like a year ago. Just blanked on the second one. That's really bad. Within the last 6 months, he passed. Pretty sure that Zev Zelenko was probably taken out, although he had the cancer beforehand. But all you have to do is amplify it, and they know how to do that. So, you know, you can live the healthiest life you can, but if they know that how to flip the switch in the DNA to make something happen, they're going to do it. So for someone, you know, in the patriot community to say, oh, the good guys are in control and it's all an act. I'm like, no, people are still dying. And look at the people of LA. You think the good guys did that? I don't think so.
No.
If they really wanted to take out like bad mansions or something, you think they could have just targeted the few that they wanted to take out? Yes. They didn't have to destroy your average everyday American house. You know, the folks that just were living paycheck to paycheck, they didn't need to have their houses destroyed, and people died. So I don't think it's the good guys at all.
No. Particle physics.
Yeah, I use that every day now. You talk about some of these, you know, yeah, it served me well when I was a professor at the Air Force Academy, but it does give you a logical scientific mind. And so every possibility is possible. Every hypothesis, every theory, you know, is it possible that there really are space aliens living amongst us and that they're got a base on the other side of the moon or whatever, all the other, sure, it's possible. How probable? I don't know. We're probably going to find out in 6 or 7 days. I would hope we're going to get some truth, you know, so everything's possible. But
all right. In your PhD education in particle physics, what do you know about femto technology and pico technology?
So femto and pico are just prefixes on meter, for example, like centimeter, millimeter, femtometer, picometer. It's just a tiny, 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 tiny amount. Mm-hmm. So, you know, 1,000th of 1,000th of 1,000th, you know, you just keep going until you have enough zeros.
Right.
And so nanotech is pretty darn small. We're already almost at the atomic level. So once you start getting to pico and femto, you're already like towards electron level. So that's even smaller than an atom, as far as I can recall. I have to think about
atomic and subatomic.
Yeah, subatomic. So 10 to the minus what is femto? I think it's 15, isn't it? 10 to the minus 15. So
yeah.
A decimal point with 15 zeros and then a 1. So one femto thing, you know, teeny tiny piece of something. So, you know, an angstrom, I believe, is 10 to the minus 10th centimeters, 10 to the minus 10th meters, I think. And an angstrom is like roughly the size of an atom.
Do they exist?
Atoms?
No. Femto and pico technology.
What do you make it out of if it's smaller than an atom?
Well, according to Wikipedia and every white paper that I've looked at,
the CIA Wikipedia.
Yeah. Well, you know, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I said, every white paper, scientific research paper, study, college, university, professor, biophysicist, you name it, it doesn't exist. Neither one of them. They're both futuristic, hypothetical technologies.
Unless it's from the aliens.
Well, unless we can call Donald Wilsh in Florida, who has a U.S. patent on femto technology.
Interesting.
Extremely interesting, which, as you know, being in the military generally has things 20 to 50 years before the public knows about it. So are they being used? Obviously they're using nanotechnology in medicine. So what if they're using femto and pico?
Well, like I said, what would you make it out of? If it's smaller than an atom, you can't use atoms to make it.
I know it's a brain twister, isn't it?
It is a brain twister. So, is it because our limited understanding of particle physics? Well, we know we don't understand it completely because
Right.
the standard model of physics, of particle physics, can't explain everything. It's a really good, I'll say, approximation, but we're missing the key elements that give us the defining reason why it's that way, So, and there's a thing called quantum field theory that tries to explain it, and it's at best a Band-Aid fix. We can't really, it's like, well, we kind of have to dance like this when we do the fraction, and then it works, but we don't know why.
Right.
So, as soon as we figure out the why, it's like, oh, of course, so, we don't know everything. It's just gotten us by to this point until we have the major breakthrough, and we've probably had the major breakthrough and we're just not being told or taught. So maybe that's what this technology is about.
I have Dr. Ed Group on it. Of course, he has a multi-million-dollar research team behind him.
Yep.
And he didn't even know about those technologies.
Right.
I hit him up. I was like, hey, here you go, Ed.
Yeah.
So, they've accumulated, I think he said 2,000 documents so far. That was probably a month ago when I talked to him. So they're definitely on it because this technology can be incorporated into our air, water, food, everything so easily. I'd love to continue this, but we're going on 3 hours and I want this to get out to a wide audience. I don't want to make it a long video, and you're coming back on. You're coming back on. I'm going to take a deeper dive into your website and read and watch more videos that are in there.
Let me grab a couple of books.
Okay.
So we've got. So I'm going to show you the names. Gene Hertler. Whoops. Let me drop it first. So Gene Hertler and David Hertler. They're the authors of a book called Re-Inhabited. It's actually a 2-volume series. So volume 1 is in like a subtitle, I call it like 300 years of American history. It goes further back a little bit than that, but it's how we got a republic and how we lost the republic. And then volume 2, same authors, Re-Inhabited volume 2, is the how we got it back. So that's the story of the re-inhabitation. And so that's, if you really want to do a deep dive, anyone out there, I highly recommend you get these books. On our website, where you register, again, sorry for the word, once you are logged in, there's a place that says shop. And so you can, for an optional donation, download the PDF and read it on like a tablet or something like that. Or there's audiobooks, not professionally done. These are just our people who read them because, like me, I like to drive and listen to something, so I can listen to an audiobook. And those are 2 other ways that you can get the books. So anyone that's on a limited budget, you've got a couple of options. So that deep dive, these deep dives will really solidify for you what's happened and why it's happened and who did it.
Some of these families that are doing this are generational, especially if you look at the Bush dynasty.
Well, if you really want to boil it down, it goes back thousands of years to Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This
is truly a biblical time.
Absolutely. People don't realize that we're living history every day.
Absolutely. We're making history every day.
Yeah.
We're writing the history books right now. People it just blows their mind when they think about it. We are writing the history book right now.
Yeah. I'm not famous or infamous or anything like that. I'm just a small fish in a huge ocean of players in this movement. Some of the things that I've done should be viral and they're not. And then, they like the Bill of Lies video I did on the Texas Bill of Rights. And let me show this for people because this is what you're talking about. Let me screen share just as we close. And most people don't realize this. This is the Bill of Rights, the Texas Constitution.
Hmm.
Preamble, humbly invoking the blessings of Almighty God. The people of the state of Texas do ordain and establish this Constitution. Article 1, Bill of Rights, that the great and essential principles of liberty and free government may be recognized and established. We declare, Section 1, freedom and sovereignty of state. Texas is a free and independent state, subject only to the Constitution of the United States, and the maintenance of our free institutions and the perpetuity of the Union depend upon the preservation of the right of local self-government unimpaired to all the states. Section 2, inherent political power, Republican form of government. All political power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their benefit. The faith of the people of Texas stands pledged to the preservation of a Republican form of government, and, subject to this limitation only, they have at all times the inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they may think expedient.
Yep.
And people don't realize that.
What version of the Constitution did you grab there? Because I saw there were different dates.
This is from the Texas Legislative Library.
Hmm. It was at least past 1876 because that's the dates I saw it on there. But we're recommending, and what we're doing in the Republic is we're going back to the original Constitution for statehood. So the one that has to be ratified by Congress, till 2023. Mm-hmm. Yep. So there's your problem. If you look at the seal that was just on that page, it's in all caps. Hello.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So we have a new state seal, not all caps.
Right. Exactly. And if you would like the Dun & Bradstreet background business report for the judiciary courts of the state of Texas, which is a subsidiary of the state of Texas Incorporated,
mm-hmm.
established in 1836 by the people, and the courts were formed in 1845. If you follow Texas history, you'll know in 1845, that was a very demarcative year for Texas. That's when they established their first prison. It was given to them.
It was also when they supposedly became a state. So there were some things done that were not proper, and there's a lot of good arguments that say that Texas never became a state. And so therefore reverts to being its own country. That's the Republic of Texas movement. And I'm in conversations with them all the time. So we are all working towards the same goals, just slightly different methods. So.
Very good. Well, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate your time, effort, patience, knowledge.
It went longer than we thought, but like we kind of assumed it was going to go that way.
You're right. Yes. And obviously your service to our country. God, I hope every military personnel is exactly like you. They still have the same beliefs that, God and country.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's all about. Serve God, country next, and your family.
That's right.
If you don't have a country, you're probably not going to have a family. You're going to be a slave.
Mm-hmm. That's where we're headed unless we do something about it.
Absolutely. All right. I will make arrangements to have you on. I don't know what your schedule looks like, but I definitely want to get you back on as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Let's wait a couple of weeks and see where we're at.
Yes. Let's go after the inauguration on the 20th. So we'll set something in the latter week of January and kind of give a recap on what we've discussed here. Movement towards getting more people volunteering for the Republic of the United States of America.
Yep.
Dr. Sandy Miarecki, PhD, U.S. Air Force, Lieutenant Colonel. Should I say retired or fired or retired fired?
So I actually retired, and then as a civilian, I was fired. So
okay.
I have both distinctions.
So you still get your full VA benefits and all that?
As of right now, until we don't have a government anymore. Yep.
Good for you. And definitely I want to get into something next conversation, military technology, i.e. med beds.
Okay. We'll save it for that time.
Absolutely. Dr. Miarecki, Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you coming on the show, and I hope my
Thank you, Floyd.
audience appreciates your time as well. Have a great week.
You too.
I'll see you in a couple.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. Golly, I just cannot tell you from the bottom of my heart and soul how humbled and impressed and that this crazy ass life I lead, all the crazy things I've done in my life, that I should be dead many, 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 many times over. And yet I'm still here. I should be a strung out junkie on the streets, and I'm still here. For some reason, God has something for me. What exactly that end goal is, I have no idea. Like I told you guys, I quit trying to drive my car because I kept driving in the ditch. And it's no fun being in the ditch, believe me. And it's taken me on this journey to meet people like Dr. Miarecki, Noel Benoist. I have Jim Gale coming on Thursday. Yes, Thursday. If you don't know who he is, he's all about permaculture. He made a decision in his life that he wanted to be rich and wealthy in 3 short years. And in 3 years, he created $1 billion mortgage company. He got introduced to permaculture in Costa Rica, and he's brought that to the United States. And I'm going to have him on. He's another badass. And I'm so, honored and humbled to have people like that on my show. I want to bring the best of the best. All I'm searching for is the truth, whatever that looks like, whoever has it. I'm, not tripping. I'm going to have people on my show. They're going to come on and they're going to tell you things. And sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's not. I don't know. I try to leave it up to my audience to make that, that decision. I just, try to ask the right questions to elicit facts from my guests, so you can make your own determination without me expressing my own opinion of whether they're right, they're wrong, truthful, untruthful, or any of that stuff. Just like with Elizabeth Rodriguez, when I brought her on, y'all guys keep asking me, what do you think about Elizabeth? And I keep telling you, I'm on the fence. There's a lot of questions unanswered, a lot of questions that she doesn't want to answer, et cetera, et cetera. I've had Chief, well, he's not a chief. I've had Native American, indigenous LC Fast Horse on the show, pursuant to one of his relatives, my own investigation through the Sioux Nation. He's not a chief, never has been a chief. And I've had him on the show as a chief. So for that, I have to apologize to my audience, but I'm always just looking for the truth, whoever has it. I take these people at face value, that they're coming on, if they're genuine, they're honest, integrity, clean faith, or good faith and clean hands. Sometimes they're not. I get duped just like everybody else. It happens. But we try to, go through the machinations to vet these people prior to coming on the show. And I do my best to present you with the best of the best. And that's all I'm looking for. If you have anybody that you want to come on the show about any topics or any guests, send them my way. When you send me their information, I reach out to those folks to try to get them on the show. Sometimes they don't even reply. Sometimes I have to go through a gazillion hurdles to get to whoever, to get them to even receive an invitation to come on the show. It's really arcane. I don't understand why people do that, but it is what it is. So I hope you learned something from the show. Stay tuned. Tomorrow, if I do not have a guest that will accept invitation for tomorrow, or I have somebody, because I definitely have the stem cell folks for the STEM active, the founders. They're trying to schedule that. We'll get the founders on the show. So I don't know if that's going to be this week, next week, could be tomorrow. Tomorrow, all about robots, drones, and autonomous vehicles, the latest and greatest technology as of last month. I'm also reviewing the new technology for the CES show in Vegas that happened last week. All that new technology, because what I'm looking for is what's available out there right now and what are we seeing with our own eyes. And then, of course, Thursday, I'll have Jim Gale on. And then Friday is open. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate you. And I will catch you next time. And quickly, all of you who are inquiring about the trademark class with Wesley Keith Mullings, he sent me the spreadsheet last night. I have everything. Now I have to break down what he sent me into a curriculum that is path of least resistance. Okay. So it's simple for everybody to operate, join, whatever. So I'll be putting that together hopefully tonight if I have time. So I just want to give you an update on that. It's coming. I know it's already on my website. I just haven't set everything up and established what it's going to go. I don't want to cross mingle payment platforms with Lawful. So I'm going to set up a separate thing. So that account is set up separate from Ann's account. So look forward to having that presentation for you in the next couple weeks, if not sooner. And I told you she was a badass.